Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Rebirth of Naruto, Saving Jiraiya at the Beginning. Chapter 1. The sky was full of fog, and the sky was full of fog. Where is this place? Didn't I die in the duel with Kawaki? The seventh Hokage Naruto opened his eyes sleepily and looked at everything in front of him, looking very confused. He was in a white space and couldn't see the boundaries around him clearly. He tried to shout loudly, "Is there anyone? Is there anyone here?" Result: not only did no one respond, but there was not even an echo. Naruto sighed and thought, maybe this is heaven. Recalling his life. When he was born, both his parents died. He had a miserable childhood, was ostracized by the people in the village, and often had no food to eat. Fortunately, I have always believed in my dream. Finally, at the age of 12, I met teacher Iruka, took over the wristband from him, and became a Konoha genin. Then, I met teacher Kakashi and successfully graduated from the ninja school. In the land of waves, I met Zabuza, stabbed his hand with a kunai, and established the path of the ninja heart with pain and blood. Defeated Neji in the Chunin exam, showed his talent, and the demon fox boy officially debuted. Then, defeated Gaara, who turned into a tailed beast, protected the village, and initially became famous in Konoha. Then, I followed Master Jiraiya to practice, and from then on I had a master and someone to rely on. From the Akatsuki organization, I rescued Kazekage Gaara, maintained the peace between Konoha and Sand Ninja, and won the recognition of most people in the village. At the age of 16, as a sage, I defeated the notorious Akatsuki organization in the ninja world, and thus became a hero of Konoha in one fell swoop, completely getting rid of the title of Demon Fox. Later, with the help of Uncle Killer Bee and Xiao Ba, he practiced the Nine Tails Chakra mode. He participated in the Fourth Ninja World War. In the battle, he became a true companion with the Nine Tails, forming a perfect Jinchuriki and fighting side by side. Later, he joined forces with his brother Sasuke, received the power of the Six Paths, and sealed Kagaya with his own hands, bringing long-lost peace to the entire ninja world. During the 6th generation Kakashi period, Naruto repaired his broken arm and successfully became a Jonin. In the process of getting along, he confirmed his feelings for Hinata. The two officially fell in love, got married, had children, and were very happy. Then, when he was 30 years old, Kakashi teacher abdicated, and he became the 7th generation Hokage, realizing his dreams since childhood. At this time, his friends also started families, had children, and were happy. The ninja world was peaceful. Everything was so beautiful. Unfortunately, it was not as good as people wished. Kagaya had been looking up at the stars, and the thing she feared finally came to Naruto. The Otsutsuki clan made a comeback. Kinshiki, Momoshiki, Arashiki, Ashiki. Each one was more powerful than the other. At this time, Naruto realized that Kagaya was nothing compared to these people. Among them, in the duel with Otsutsuki Ashiki, Naruto himself lost the Nine Tails, his companion who had accompanied him for nearly his entire life. And his best friend Sasuke was actually attacked by his son Boruto with a kunai, blinding the Samsara Eye. Although his son Boruto was controlled by someone, the pain of Sasuke losing the Samsara Eye made Naruto's heart difficult to calm down. Seeing that his own strength was no longer able to fight, Naruto began to look for help. In Myoboku Mountain, the sleeping big toad sage gave another prophecy. In the latest prophecy, Boruto will be the one who changes the ninja world. So, Naruto began to train his son Boruto at all costs. Boruto really lived up to everyone's expectations. With the awakened pure eye and the power of Otsutsuki, plus Sasuke's personal guidance, he inherited Sasuke's sword, cloak, and forehead protector, and once surpassed the previous generations of Hokage and became the highest combat power in the ninja world. But if nothing unexpected happens, there will be an accident here. During the training, Boruto met a man named Kawaki, who had the same diamond mark as Boruto. After a chat, the two people were very speculative, so the kind-hearted Boruto took him to Konoha village for recuperation. As a result, Kawaki in the later period broke with Boruto under the instigation of the Kara organization, and wanted to destroy the entire ninja world, re-implement the Moon Eye plan, and plant the Moon Tree. So, the 5th Ninja World War started again. Thinking of this, Naruto couldn't help but clench his fists in his memories. In this battle, Naruto saw his familiar family, old friends, and companions with his own eyes. One after another fell. Because he was the Hokage and lost the 9 tails, everyone protected him and let him stay in the back. Thinking of this, Naruto burst into tears. Hinata, Himawari, Sasuke, Gaara, Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Shikamaru, and so on. They left one after another because of the war. At the end of the battle, only he and his son Boruto were left. And Naruto himself, in order to protect Boruto, also died under Kawaki's ninjutsu. Thinking of this, Naruto couldn't help but sigh to the sky. Why did God do this? By the way, I don't know how Boruto's last battle went. Did he succeed in saving the ninja world? He and Kawaki both failed, both lost to the power of the Otsutsuki clan. A long voice came, immediately attracting Naruto's attention. He looked in the direction of the voice, and saw a figure slowly appearing in the white space. Naruto's pupils widened, and he said in shock, "Grandpa Six-Path Sage." The Six-Path Sage smiled and said, "See you again, the son of prophecy, Naruto." Naruto hurriedly stepped forward, looked at the Six-Path Sage and asked hurriedly, "What did you just say? What do you mean Kawaki and Boruto failed? Isn't Kawaki in the same group as the Otsutsuki clan?" The Six-Path Sage sighed and said, "After you died, Boruto and Kawaki fought, but Kawaki finally woke up and understood the true purpose of the Moon Eye, so he joined forces with Boruto to fight against the Otsutsuki clan. As a result, both of them failed and became containers." Naruto's mind was shocked, his eyes were terrified, muttering, "How is it possible? How could this happen?" As if he had thought of something, Naruto shouted excitedly at the Six-Path Sage, "The Great Toad Sage is not a prophecy, Boruto will be the one who changes the ninja world. Why is it like this in the end? Why is the ninja world still going to be destroyed?" After shouting, Naruto felt powerless because his last hope was shattered. After taking a few steps back, he half crouched on the ground, holding his head, tears flowing down his face, and muttered in a low voice, Why is it like this, why?" The once strong and courageous 7th generation Naruto had his hopes completely shattered. The Six-Path Sage looked at the angry Naruto, was silent for a few seconds, and then said, "The Great Toad Sage's prophecy is actually not wrong." Hearing this, Naruto looked up blankly, with tears still hanging in the corners of his eyes. The old man was very happy. The prediction of the Great Toad Sage is actually not wrong. The words of the Six-Path Sage were like a weak flame, which ignited Naruto's already desperate heart again. Naruto stood up again with tears in his eyes, looked at the Six-Path Sage, and asked calmly, "What do you mean?" The Six-Path Sage smiled and said, "Aren't you curious about why you met me here?" Naruto frowned. Yes, didn't the Six-Path Sage disappear completely after the end of the Ninja World War? How come he met me again? Could it be? Hope reappeared in Naruto's eyes. He looked at the Six-Path Sage, looking forward to the answer he expected in his heart. The Six-Path Sage looked at Naruto and said calmly, "Although Boruto did not defeat the Otsutsuki clan, the prediction of the Great Toad Sage was indeed correct, because Boruto did one thing, that is, he sent you to see me." Naruto was a little surprised and said, "You mean, I can appear here because Boruto sent me?" The Six-Path Sage nodded and said, "Yes, you did die in the battle, but your soul was preserved by Boruto with the pure eye. Boruto engraved the forbidden technique of the Otsutsuki clan in his eyes in advance. After being defeated and becoming a container, he obtained a large amount of chakra, and the forbidden technique in his eyes could be directly activated. Through the magic weapon, he sent you to me, at the cost of sacrificing his own life." Hearing this, Naruto was moved to tears. "Boruto, my good son, woo-woo-woo." The Six-Path Sage looked at Naruto, took out an object in his right hand and said, "This is the artifact." Naruto woke up from his sad thoughts, looked at the cracked object in the Six-Path Sage's hand, and said in surprise, "What is this?" "Otsutsuki's magic weapon, the plow." The Six-Path Sage nodded and said, "Yes, through this plow, Boruto sacrificed himself, used Otsutsuki's forbidden technique, and sent your soul to meet me, and you, Naruto, now face a choice that can change the ninja world again." Naruto looked at the Six-Path Sage in shock, and he seemed to understand a little. After a lot of twists and turns, it turns out that what the Great Toad Sage said, that Boruto can change the ninja world, is to change the ninja world in this way. But, how did Boruto determine all this? How did he know that sending my soul to see the six paths would definitely change the ninja world? Besides, how did he know the forbidden technique of the Otsutsuki clan? The six paths sage saw the confusion in Naruto's eyes. He looked at the cracked plow in his hand, sighed and said, "Before answering your doubts, let me ask you a question, Naruto. After going through all this, do you still think that what I did at the beginning was right?" After listening to the six paths sage's question, Naruto was silent for a while, and then said, "To be honest, I no longer agree with your approach now. The Otsutsuki clan is indeed too powerful. If you don't want to be destroyed, you must get the power to fight against it at all costs." After listening to Naruto's words, the six paths sage was silent. Because the last time they met was during the Fourth Ninja World War. He also asked Naruto, if Sasuke wanted to unify the ninja world at all costs, what would you do? Naruto's answer was to stop Sasuke and believe in fraternity and a world where people can understand each other. Look at now. The six paths sage sighed and said sadly, "Alas, the things my mother feared back then have now come true. After all, I was too short-sighted, and after all, I was wrong." Naruto did not deny it. Because he once agreed with the six paths sage's approach, but after witnessing the tragedy of the ninja world, seeing the strength of the Otsutsuki clan, and experiencing the death and separation of relatives and friends, he can never go back to the past. The Naruto who was full of ideals and believed in fraternity and that people could understand each other in the world is dead. As if the atmosphere was a little heavy, the six paths sage smiled again, "But it's okay, fortunately there is still a chance to make up for it. So it seems that the backup plan left by Homura is right." Naruto wrinkled his eyes slightly, expressing his confusion. The six paths sage looked at Naruto and answered his doubts for him. "I know, you must be confused. Why your son Boruto, as if he knew all this in advance, was so sure to send you to see me." Naruto nodded, motioning for the six paths sage to continue. The six paths sage continued. "Back then, when facing his mother, I really didn't agree with Kagaya's actions, so I sealed my mother on the moon. My younger brother Homura led the tribe to stay on the moon to accompany my mother. During the long companionship, Homura was also investigating the real reason why my mother Kagaya always looked up at the stars and was always afraid, until my younger brother Homura awakened the pure eye." Quote. Looking at the shocked Naruto, the six paths sage narrowed his eyes and said, "You guessed right, it's the kind that Boruto awakened." The six paths sage continued to recall. "My younger brother Homura discovered that the pure eye can sometimes see many fragments of time and space through continuous exploration of the pure eye, some of the past and the future, but it is uncontrollable. Until my younger brother Homura saw some fragments of time and space, he finally understood why my mother Kagaya always looked up at the stars and why my mother was always afraid. It turned out that the Otsutsuki clan outside the domain really existed, and they were really powerful and scary. So, Homura came to me immediately and told me about these situations." Quote. Naruto was shocked. There was such a secret. Doesn't that mean that the six paths sage knew about this from the beginning? Why? The six paths sage looked at Naruto and said, "Are you wondering why I chose to go this way even though I knew everything?" Naruto nodded. The six paths sage continued, "Because, at that time, Homura was not sure that what he saw was true, and he could not see the future. The ninja world would definitely be destroyed." Naruto said, "Oh," and then looked at the six paths sage and said, "So, you chose to take a gamble?" The six paths sage nodded and said, "Yes, I chose to take a gamble, but now it seems that I lost the gamble and was wrong. Fortunately, my younger brother Homura suggested leaving a backup plan at that time, otherwise I would really regret it." Quote. Looking at Naruto who was anxiously waiting for the answer, the six paths sage continued, "Hakyun has been exploring the pure eye and obtained the relevant memory chakra from his mother Kagaya's chakra. Only then did he know that the pure eye has another nickname in the Otsutsuki clan, called the Samsara Eye." "The Samsara Eye," Naruto said in shock. The six paths sage nodded and said, "That's right, the Samsara Eye, through the forbidden technique of the Otsutsuki clan, plus the magic plow, can send a person's soul through time and space, back to the past, and revive the body. In addition, the conditions and costs for the activation of this forbidden technique are First, the caster must have a large amount of chakra. Second, the caster's life is sacrificed. Third, the samsara eye can only be activated once, and it will lose its light immediately after it is used up. Naruto listened thoughtfully. This forbidden technique of the Otsutsuki clan is a bit like the samsara eye, the six-path samsara natural technique. However, this can also travel through time and space to be resurrected, and directly resurrect to the original body. That's not right. The samsara eye can only be activated once, so why doesn't Boruto send himself back to the past directly, and send himself to see the six paths? You know, Boruto only has one pure eye, and once it is used, it will be gone. Lu Dao saw Naruto's doubts again and continued to answer. The pure eye that Boruto awakened is actually the power left by my brother Hamura. After Boruto fully developed the power of the pure eye, the chakra left by my brother Hamura will be activated, just like the chakra I left in you and Sasuke. My brother Hamura will appear in Boruto's soul, just like you and me now. My brother Hamura told your son Boruto everything, so Boruto deliberately lost the battle and became a container, so that he could obtain a lot of chakra, and the technique engraved in the eye in advance would be activated. In addition, he had obtained the plow in advance, so he successfully sent you to see me. Why not send you directly to the past? Because in reincarnation, traveling through time and space, the soul may be damaged, the memory may be lost, and you may lose your original heart. This arranged me, as the last insurance, to tell you all this, let you know all this. Understand your mission. Speaking of this, the six-path sage said bitterly, after all, I have lost the bet once, and I dare not bet again. Naruto was relieved. So that's how it is. That's how it is. Boruto became the key to his own resurrection, so he became the son of prophecy in the mouth of the great Toad Sage, the one who changed the ninja world. Because he was afraid that he would be damaged and forget his mission when he traveled through time and space to be resurrected, the six-path sage set up this level for himself. Naruto looked at the six-path sage and asked, but now the reincarnation eye is gone. The one that Boruto awakened has been sent to me to see you. Also, even if you resurrect me, how can you guarantee that my memory will not be lost? The six-path sage smiled and looked at Naruto and said, guess how many eyes my brother Hamura has. As he said that, an eye appeared out of thin air on the six-path sage's left hand. Naruto looked at it carefully and was surprised. What is this? Pure eye. Oh no, samsara eye. Six-path sage nodded and said, my brother Hamura has awakened both eyes, one is left, Boruto inherited it when he awakened, and one is kept with me as a backup plan. Naruto looked at six paths, not knowing what to say. You are the one who made the decisive bet, so just in case, you designed plan A and plan B. Sage is sage, and he has made every calculation. What do you want me to do now? Naruto asked. He is ready to be resurrected. The six-path sage looked at Naruto and said, it's up to you to choose. After the samsara eye technique is activated, the time and space that can send you to the past is uncertain. In other words, it is also a coincidence that you can see me in this time and space now. So, now you have two choices. First, I will use the samsara eye technique to directly let you be reborn in this time and space, that is, the current time and space, on your body outside. Second, you can choose to travel a little further forward. As for which time and space to travel to, I am not sure. Anyway, it is the past that is before the current time and space. No matter which one, I can use the power of yin and yang to protect your past soul memory and completely integrate it into the body without losing anything. Naruto asked, Boruto doesn't have the power of yin and yang, so my soul still came here intact. Six paths answered, that's because the eyes in my hand and Boruto's eyes are my brother's samsara eye, and they can communicate with each other. So your soul can be intact. Enter from Boruto's eye and exit from the eye in my hand, otherwise why would my brother Hamura do it so many times and leave only one eye? Quote. Naruto nodded, and then he asked the six-path sage, what time is it outside now? The six-path sage replied, during the Fourth Ninja War, you and Sasuke were still outside, leading the Ninja World Alliance to fight against Uchiha Madara and Obito. At this time, Naruto's memory began to turn, and suddenly he seemed to think of something, and hurriedly asked, how is Neji? Is Neji dead now? The six-path sage replied, dead. Hearing that Neji was dead, Naruto's heart ached. Although it has been a long time, the scene when his best friend left seems to be right in front of him. That sentence, because you said I am a genius. Quote. Countless times of echoes echoed in Naruto's mind, making Naruto sleepless several times. That's right, I can travel through time and space again, and I can travel to a time before the current time and space. It's just that I can't locate time and space, specifically to that time in the past. But it's okay, as long as it's before the present, I can save Neji. So, Naruto looked at the Six Paths Sage firmly and said, I choose the second one. The Six Paths Sage asked, Are you sure? Naruto nodded resolutely. The Six Paths Sage looked at Naruto in silence for a few seconds, then raised his left hand, without taking off the original Samsara eye, and directly put the pure eye in. Looking at Naruto, who was a little surprised, the Six Paths said, I am in the state of spirit, and the Samsara eye is also, so there is no need to take it out, just put the pure eye in. Then, the Six Paths Sage made a complex seal, and then directly launched the ninjutsu, shouting, Reincarnation and Samsara Technique. Quote. A white light shone from the Six Paths Sage's pure eyes, directly covering Naruto. Naruto suddenly felt himself being enveloped by a warm power, and then this power became stronger and stronger, because the white light on his body became more and more. Looking at the Six Paths Sage again, his figure became fainter and fainter, and the light emitted from the pure eyes became weaker and weaker. Naruto remembered one of the conditions of this technique, sacrificing life. The Six Paths no longer had life, so what was he sacrificing at this moment? While thinking, Naruto had a guess, and he looked at the Six Paths Sage with a questioning look. The Six Paths Sage smiled slightly and said, Goodbye Naruto, this time, it's really goodbye, the future of ninja, please. After saying that, the Six Paths Sage's soul dissipated. Naruto agreed with tears, and the white light on his body had reached its peak, wrapping his whole body, directly cutting through time and space, and disappeared. And the magic plow, after transmitting Naruto, was completely torn into pieces and turned into ashes. The dream was so good, and the dream was so sweet. It was like having a good dream that I hadn't had in a long time. In the dream, I felt warm, as comfortable as the warm sun in winter. Sunshine, am I reborn at home? Naruto's consciousness began to wake up slowly, but he felt that his body was out of control and kept moving around, as if he was running. His real body was not at home, so where was he now? Suddenly, Naruto seemed to hear himself talking. Yeah, how is it? His tone was a little anxious, Naruto thought. I am concentrating on finding Sasuke's faint scent, don't interrupt, I will be distracted. Yeah, it was Ya's voice, yes, I was just asking Ya. Looking for the faint smell of Sasuke. Naruto's soul memory began to turn, just like turning a book from the past. In a trance, he locked onto this time and space, the page that appeared. He was reborn to the time when he was looking for Sasuke. Thinking of this, Naruto's soul woke up instantly. At the same time, in this time and space, Naruto's body stopped instantly. He was still jumping in the last second, and fell directly from the air in the next second. Kakashi was behind Naruto, and he immediately realized something was wrong, and shouted urgently, Naruto. He hugged Naruto the moment he fell to the ground and landed safely. Haruno Sakura, Akamaru and Kiba, Aburame Shino, Hinata, and Yamato also stopped and quickly surrounded him. Sakura Haruno stepped forward, looked at Naruto with his eyes closed, and asked in confusion, what happened? Kakashi said, I don't know, he was fine just now, but he fainted in the blink of an eye. Let me see. Sakura Haruno learned medical treatment from Tsunade and knew medical ninjutsu, so she immediately asked Kakashi to put Naruto on the ground and she would check it out. Hinata looked at Naruto with concern, fearing that Naruto would get into trouble. Inside Naruto's body with his eyes closed, the reborn soul Naruto was quickly merging with his body. Finally, after Sakura Haruno pressed a few CPRs and was about to ask Kiba, Yamato, or Kakashi to come over for artificial respiration, Naruto woke up. When he looked into his eyes, he saw a man's face, with his eyes closed, moving his big lips, and coming towards him like a wooden horse. Naruto hesitated and hummed, then asked, Is it Kiba? Kiba opened his eyes at the sound and met Naruto's eyes, which was very embarrassing. He stood up instantly and said, Well, Naruto, let me explain first, I'm here to give you artificial respiration. You fainted. It was Sakura who asked you to do it. Kakashi and Yamato didn't do it, so I had no choice. Ya kept explaining, his ears were red. Naruto stood up and looked at his body. Yes, it was the body of a teenager. At this time, he should not be 16 years old. Kakashi looked at Naruto and smiled, I'm glad you're okay. You really scared me to death. Naruto, what happened to you just now? Naruto hugged Kakashi instantly, tears streaming down his face. When fighting against the Otsutsuki, Kakashi died in front of him just to block the attack for him. How can I not be excited to meet him again now? Wow, Kakashi-sensei, it's so nice to see you. Kakashi was speechless. Although he didn't understand what happened to Naruto, he patted Naruto on the back and said, okay, I know you admire me, but if we don't get up and chase Sasuke, Sasuke will disappear again soon. Naruto let go immediately. That's right. For Naruto at this time, chasing Sasuke is the most important thing. Haruno Sakura saw that Naruto was fine, and immediately scolded angrily, asshole, get up quickly, I'm really scared to death by you, and suddenly fainted on the ground. She checked and found that Naruto basically had no problems. So, she could only do CPR first, not artificial respiration, and try the first aid method first. She definitely didn't do artificial respiration, how embarrassing. Kakashi and Yamato didn't do it either, so only Kiba could do it. As a result, Naruto woke up before Kiba started. Naruto was very happy and excitedly called out, Sakura. The tone was full of a long-lost atmosphere. Then, they shouted happily one by one, hey. Shino, haha, Captain Yamato, hey. Kiba, what are you talking about there? Akamaru, be good, pat your head. Naruto excitedly greeted everyone, just like. It was like they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Haruno Sakura walked to Kakashi and asked worriedly, Kakashi, are you sure you caught Naruto before he fell? I feel like he hit his head. Kakashi scratched his head awkwardly and smiled bitterly, I think I should be 100% sure that I caught him. Just when Haruno Sakura was wondering if Naruto had hit his head, Naruto came to Hinata. Hinata looked at Naruto worriedly and said softly, Naruto-kun, I'm so glad you're okay. Before she finished speaking, Naruto hugged her in his arms and kissed her directly. Naruto hugged her tightly and kissed her deeply. Hinata looked at Naruto in horror, as if the world at this moment was so unreal, until he saw that Naruto-kun's closed eyes left a line of hot tears. Ah, Hinata's heart seemed to be hit by something, and slowly, she closed her eyes. As for the bystanders, they were all stunned. Yamato, Shino, and Kiba, all three of them opened their mouths wide, their eyes as big as copper bells. Even Akamaru and the ninja dogs summoned by Kakashi were stunned. Kakashi's mouth twitched, and he couldn't believe his eyes, and said nervously, I'm really not sure now whether I really caught him. He might have really broken his brain. Haruno Sakura's face flushed first, then she clenched her fists and was furious. Naruto, this guy, has always liked me, what are you doing in front of this lady now? As she said that, Haruno Sakura walked over directly, came up and punched, and said angrily, you hooligan, let Hinata go. Bang! To the surprise of everyone present, Haruno Sakura's fist was steadily caught by Naruto. Naruto held the blushing Hinata in one hand, and calmly caught Haruno Sakura's fist with the other hand, saying apologetically, sorry, Sakura, I can't hit you anymore in the future. And Hinata, in Naruto's arms, blushed, lowered her head, and clasped her two little hands in front of her chest. Haruno Sakura was completely stunned. Is this still the Naruto she knew? You know, when she beat Naruto before, Naruto never fought back or blocked it. Even when she scolded him, this guy didn't dare to talk back. But now, this guy not only blocked it. Moreover, this guy actually dared to forcefully kiss Hinata. Hasn't he always liked me? Although I have always liked Sasuke and my feelings for Naruto are a little unclear, but now it's like Naruto doesn't like me at all. Haruno Sakura felt a little sad. Naruto's tone and demeanor towards her are not as good as before. She felt like she had lost something. Naruto didn't know what Haruno Sakura was thinking. At this moment, he only had Hinata in his eyes. Faced with everyone's surprise and astonishment, he even wanted to hug Hinata and shouted, my wife, what's wrong with me kissing you? The joy of reunion cannot be described in words. Kakashi saw that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, so he came out to smooth things over and said, okay, Naruto may be too anxious to chase Sasuke recently, so his mind may be a little confused. We have to hurry up, otherwise Sasuke may disappear soon. Yeah, continue to lock Sasuke's scent. Hearing Kakashi's words, Naruto woke up from his joy. By the way, he came back to life this time with a clear purpose. He wanted to change the entire ninja world, obtain the power to fight against the Otsutsuki clan in advance, and make up for his past regrets. Speaking of regrets, Naruto looked at Hinata, and he thought of Neji, so he looked at Kakashi and asked, Teacher Kakashi, Neji is now on a mission with Teacher Kai, right? Kakashi was stunned by the question, and was a little surprised why Naruto suddenly asked this, and replied, yes, Kai is on a mission outside with Team 3, what's wrong? Yoshi. That's great. Naruto excitedly clenched his fist to celebrate, with tears in his eyes. Neji is alive. This is the first regret of the reborn Naruto to make up for his previous life. Hinata looked at Naruto's true feelings and couldn't bear it. She took out a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped Naruto's tears. Seeing this, Naruto smiled happily, held Hinata's hand and said, thank you Hinata, I promise that from today on, I will protect you and won't let you get hurt again. Hinata trembled all over. If a forced kiss is an action to express love, then this is a thorough confession and expression of feelings. This sudden affection made Hinata, a delicate girl, feel very uneasy and unconfident. She broke away from Naruto's arms. Then, she mustered up her courage, looked at Naruto and asked, but Naruto has always liked Sakura's sister, why did you suddenly like me? Besides, I don't have any outstanding qualities. I only know how to cry and have gone astray many times. What is there about me that is worth Naruto's protection for a lifetime? As she spoke, Hinata felt like crying because she was afraid that Naruto's confession was fake and dreamy. After all, this sudden love was not only unacceptable to her, but also to the bystanders. After listening, Naruto looked at Hinata and smiled. Of course I know, Naruto said. His thoughts were suddenly pulled back to the duel with Pain. I was nailed to the ground by the black stick, and Hinata resolutely walked to my side, confessed to me affectionately, protected me at all costs, and fought against Pain. Thinking of the words Hinata confessed to me, Naruto smiled happily. I will tell you the love words you once said to me. Naruto looked at Hinata affectionately and said, you have been crying since you were a child. Whenever you encounter something, you always want to give up. You almost went astray several times, but fortunately, there is this handsome guy who has always been an example for you, so you keep moving forward and return to the right path. Looking at Hinata's surprised eyes, Naruto walked forward, approached Hinata, and said with tenderness in his eyes, you always chase me, want to catch up with me, want to walk side by side with me, and want to stay by my side, and always silently pay attention to me behind my back. Listening to what Naruto said to herself, Hinata felt like her own voice was spoken out by Naruto one by one. How could it be? Naruto-kun actually knows me so well, could it be that Naruto-kun has also been paying attention to me? Taking a deep breath, Naruto calmed down. He suppressed his desire to cry, took Hinata's hand, looked at her affectionately and said, thank you for always liking me. I like you too. Hinata's heart was completely blown away by these words. Naruto-kun. Hinata cried with joy, and rushed into Naruto's arms and hugged him tightly. I have gone through hardships, traveled through time and space, and returned to you again to repeat the love words you said to me. The sound of the music was so loud that the audience was cheering. Pa pa pa. Shino was on the side, clapping his hands. Ya was confused, and he also clapped his hands, and asked Shino while clapping, what are you doing? Shino said, nothing, I just suddenly felt that there should be applause here. After Shino said that, Ya felt the same way. Haruno Sakura suddenly envied Hinata. As a girl, Hinata could more or less feel her feelings for Naruto. Now, she got what she wanted, and they were in love. What about herself? Thinking of Sasuke, Haruno Sakura felt gloomy. Yamato came to Kakashi and said with a smile, Senior, it seems that we will have a wedding together in the near future. Kakashi sighed and said, weddings are happy events, and I am happy for him. It's just that Naruto, this kid, really doesn't choose the right time to fall in love. Naruto didn't do too much lingering, because there is a long time to come, and now he has more important things to do. He let go of Hinata and said, "Sorry Hinata, I have to leave you for a few days." Then, Naruto looked at Kakashi and said, "Teacher Kakashi, I'll ask you to chase Sasuke. I have something to do and I have to leave the team temporarily." Kakashi was a little surprised. Everyone present knew the importance of chasing Sasuke and what it meant to Naruto, but now, Naruto actually took the initiative to say that he wanted to leave first. "I want to know, where are you going?" Kakashi asked seriously. Naruto looked at Kakashi and said, "I'm sorry, I can't tell you for now, but please believe me, this is really important to me, very important." Haruno Sakura asked anxiously, "Is it more important than chasing Sasuke?" Naruto looked at Haruno Sakura, he didn't know how to answer. Because he knew that Sasuke was not in danger of life at all, and what Sasuke would face soon was a duel with his brother Uchiha Itachi. He would try to solve this problem immediately. The most important thing is that he has to leave immediately, because he must catch up with teacher Jiraiya. "Sorry, Sakura, I have a hard time and can't tell you for now, but what I want to tell you is that Sasuke will be fine for now, don't worry." Kakashi stood up and said, "Sorry Naruto, this is a special period. As the captain, I can't let you leave unless you explain it completely." After that, Kakashi gestured to Yamato. Yamato understood and used wood release to make a 4-pillar cell to trap Naruto there. Yamato's wood release can not only restrain the Nine Tails chakra, but also suppress Naruto's own chakra, which is why Tsunade asked him to stay by Naruto's side. Seeing this, Hinata hurried to Kakashi and said, "Teacher Kakashi, Naruto must have his own difficulties, otherwise he would not have told everyone." Kakashi was also in a dilemma. But he couldn't let Naruto leave like this, after all, he was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Konoha's heavy weapon. The Akatsuki organization was looking for Jinchuriki and capturing the tailed beasts throughout the ninja world every day. Once Naruto fell into their hands, the consequences would be disastrous. Haruno Sakura also looked at Naruto worriedly. At this moment, Naruto was motionless, staying in the 4-pillar cell, even with his eyes closed. She didn't understand why Naruto had become a different person in just a moment. "Sorry, Teacher Kakashi, Captain Yamato, I'm not discussing with you, I'm just notifying you." As he said that, Naruto opened his eyes and the Sage mode was turned on. Just now, Naruto closed his eyes quietly, but he was just absorbing the power of nature. After being reborn, Naruto has many ninjutsu engraved in his soul memory, so he doesn't need to practice again. As soon as the Senjutsu chakra came to him, Naruto directly hammered hard, and the Sage power directly broke Yamato's wood-style 4 pillars cage technique. Then, Naruto jumped onto the tree in a flash. Yamato looked at Naruto in shock, and said incredulously, "How is it possible? My wood style was broken. I have suppressed his body chakra and Nine Tails chakra." Kakashi looked at Naruto's state, especially the obvious orange mark at the corner of Naruto's eyes. He seemed to remember something and said in shock, "Sage mode. How is it possible? Naruto, when did you learn Senjutsu?" Naruto turned around and apologized again. "Sorry, Kakashi teacher, I have nothing to say for the time being." After that, Naruto left directly. Haruno Sakura shouted loudly, "Naruto! Stop right there." As she said that, she was about to chase after Naruto. But was stopped by Kakashi. Haruno Sakura looked at Kakashi in confusion, and Kakashi looked at Haruno Sakura seriously and said, "Naruto's strength has surpassed everyone present. Even if we want to stop him, we can't stop him, and I believe that Naruto must have his own difficulties." Kakashi was really shocked, because he didn't know that Naruto knew the fairy technique. Looking at the ninja world, ninjas who know fairy techniques basically have the strength close to the level of shadow. Because practicing fairy techniques requires not only a path, but also talent and qualifications. When did Naruto learn this? So he quickly took out the communication scroll, wrote down the situation here, and handed it to the ninja dog, asking him to send it back to Konoha and give it to Tsunade. After the arrangement, Kakashi ordered that except for Naruto temporarily leaving the team, everyone else should continue to chase Sasuke. Hinata glanced at the direction where Naruto left, thinking in her heart, "Naruto, I'll wait for you to come back." After saying that, he followed the main force forward. In the woods, Naruto, who turned on the Sage mode, had a stronger perception ability and a wider range of perception. In the Sage mode, he could also distinguish the differences between people through chakra. Naruto noticed something strange and turned around and changed direction again. Found it. Then, Naruto, who was running between the woods, stopped in vain, landed on the ground, and then looked at a bush in the woods and said, "Come out, Uchiha Itachi. Have you been discovered?" Under the shadow of the trees, a pair of scarlet Sharingans suddenly opened. With a rustling sound, Uchiha Itachi walked out of the shadows. "Uchiha Itachi, I want to talk to you." Naruto got straight to the point and said directly. Uchiha Itachi was a little surprised. Why did Naruto seem to come to him on his own initiative? He looked at Naruto and asked, "Do you want to talk to me?" Naruto nodded and said, "If you don't want to talk to me, why would you come to me on your own initiative?" Uchiha Itachi frowned. Yes, he did come to Naruto. Even just now, he was still searching for Naruto's chakra traces, but Naruto came to him first. And how did Naruto know that I wanted to talk to him? He asked in confusion. What do you want to talk to me about? And how do you know that I'm looking for you? Naruto looked at Uchiha Itachi, the man who, in order to protect Konoha and his brother Sasuke, even slaughtered his own clan with his own hands, bore thousands of infamy, and lurked in the Akatsuki organization. It's not easy. After becoming Hokage, Naruto realized that Itachi was actually a victim in the struggle for power. He really did a good job. Even before the duel with his brother, he came to him in advance and made arrangements again to ensure Sasuke's safety and Konoha would not be destroyed. For this reason, Naruto wanted to try to change him. He looked at Uchiha Itachi and said, "Itachi, I admire you very much, really. I, Naruto, will not speak in secret. I want to advise you to give up the duel with Sasuke and live well. In the future, I will help you change." Uchiha Itachi was a little shocked that Naruto actually admired him. Looking at Uchiha Itachi's expression, Naruto spoke again. "I already know the truth about the massacre of the Uchiha clan, and, you came this time just to see how I treat Sasuke." Naruto said it calmly, but it sounded incredible to Uchiha Itachi. Even, Uchiha Itachi's eyes moved slightly, and the Sharingan directly transformed into the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Itachi was too surprised. This Naruto completely said all his thoughts. For a moment, because he was not sure about Naruto's position, Uchiha Itachi had the urge to wipe out Naruto. However, the killing intention was fleeting. Naruto smiled slightly, and Itachi's reaction was reasonable. After all, if it were someone else, they would either kill themselves or leave directly out of fear. But Itachi completed the emotional transformation in a few seconds. It is worthy of being a rare genius in Konoha. After calming down, Uchiha Itachi smiled bitterly and said, "Naruto, you are beyond my expectation. Also, since you know why I came to you, I want to hear your answer." Naruto looked at Uchiha Itachi and answered sincerely, "Sasuke is my lifelong brother. No matter what, even if Sasuke attacks Konoha, I will protect Sasuke. Moreover, I am confident that I can make Sasuke return to the right path." Uchiha Itachi looked at Naruto, and after a few seconds of silence, he continued to ask, "Are you so confident? What if Sasuke insists on attacking Konoha?" Naruto replied, "I promise you, Naruto swears on my life that I will let Sasuke return to Konoha in the near future." Uchiha Itachi smiled because he had already got the answer he wanted. As long as Naruto has this attitude towards Sasuke, he doesn't care what method he uses. Because he still has other gods to back him up. Seeing Uchiha Itachi smile, Naruto knew that he believed it just like in his previous life, so Naruto continued to ask, "What is your response to my suggestion?" Uchiha Itachi pondered for a few seconds and replied, "Sorry, Naruto, I can't agree to you, I still want to fight Sasuke." Naruto said excitedly, "Why must you die? Why don't you choose to tell Sasuke the truth? You know, Sasuke has only you as a relative in this world." Uchiha Itachi looked at Naruto and said, "I am a sinner. Since I killed Uchiha with my own hands, the moment I was killed by the Uchiha clan, my fate was doomed to die. Otherwise, if I don't die, the stain of the Uchiha clan will always exist, and people with ulterior motives will use this to sow discord among the major clans of Konoha, which is not conducive to the stability of the village. Quote. Naruto said with a dim look in his eyes. So, you decided to die at the hands of your own brother. On the one hand, the culprit of the Uchiha clan case was killed, which would allow Sasuke to become a hero of Konoha. On the other hand, dying at the hands of your brother would also bring you inner redemption, right, Itachi? Quote. Uchiha Itachi looked at Naruto, as if he saw another self. Why does he understand himself so well? When you meet a bosom friend, you can drink 1,000 cups. After talking to this point, Itachi felt that there was no need to hide anything. I have a terminal illness and I will not live long. I am still alive because of the medicine. It is better to do this than to die in vain. Naruto was a little surprised. He really didn't know about this in his previous life, because Sasuke rarely talked to him about his brother. All he knew was what Obito said when he was wearing a mask, and what Kakashi told him. No wonder Itachi was so determined at that time and had to choose this point to die in Sasuke's hands. It turns out that life does not wait for anyone. So, Itachi's life will not last a few days. In this case, Naruto no longer concealed it. He looked at Itachi and said, Itachi, you are curious about why I know all this. I will tell you the truth, I am a person who traveled back from the future. Itachi frowned, obviously not quite believing it. Naruto continued, are you going to pull me into your illusion world later, and then put the crow with Shisui's eyes through my throat and into my mouth, and then use illusion to make me forget the memory of the crow entering my mouth temporarily, right? Itachi, shocked, your goal is that in the future, if Sasuke destroys Konoha, I will definitely intercept it, so that the crow will come out of my mouth, and the strongest illusion Koto Amatsukami engraved in Shisui's eyes will be activated on Sasuke to protect Konoha, so that he can protect Konoha, right? Uchiha Itachi has begun to be alert to Naruto. How did Naruto know his inner thoughts? Could it be that he was in an illusion, and Naruto entered his mind? Impossible, the strongest illusion Shisui is dead. If the illusionist claims to be second, who dares to claim to be first? If it is not an illusion, then it can only be reality. Are you really from the future? Naruto nodded solemnly. Itachi asked tentatively, how is Sasuke in the future? Naruto smiled and said, he has returned to Konoha. He is my brother, and I am the Hokage. He is the second in command. He also married Sakura as his wife and gave birth to a daughter named Sarada. She is very cute and is a perfect match for my boy Boruto. If you were in. At this point, Naruto suddenly stopped. By the way, Itachi has a terminal illness. This is a dead end. Uchiha Itachi smiled happily. Naruto said dimly, is there really no way to cure it? Uchiha Itachi shook his head. Naruto took a deep breath and then made a request to Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi frowned and said, what's the matter? Naruto looked at Uchiha Itachi and said, please engrave the strongest illusion, Koto Amatsukami, in the eye left by Shisui, so that the person who is hit by the illusion can be used by me without knowing it. Uchiha Itachi frowned and said, to control Sasuke. Naruto shook his head and said, no, please believe me, the future Sasuke came back through my influence, I did not use any magic on him, and please believe me, Sasuke is my brother, I will never use any magic on him. Uchiha Itachi was moved. Sasuke is my brother, I will never use any magic on him. Naruto's words felt like he was talking to himself. Itachi was thinking and pondering. Today's meeting has exceeded his expectations too much, especially Naruto actually said that he came from a time travel. This, after some thought, Uchiha Itachi said, Naruto, I choose to believe you, and I also choose to believe my stupid brother Sasuke. After that, Uchiha summoned the crow with Shisui's eyes transplanted on it, and the crow stayed on Uchiha Itachi's hand. Uchiha Itachi aimed his Mangekyo at the crow's eyes and turned it on directly. After more than 10 seconds, Itachi closed his eyes, and his whole body was obviously shaking, and he almost couldn't stand steadily. Obviously, engraving illusions in Shisui's eyes consumes a lot of chakra and energy. Itachi then took out the summoning scroll and threw it to Naruto, saying, I have engraved the ninjutsu you want in Shisui's eyes. The current pupil power is only enough to activate it once. As for how to use it, it's up to you. After that, the crow flew over and landed on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto took the summoning scroll, looked at Itachi, and said a word of thanks. Itachi opened his bloodshot eyes, looked at Naruto and said, "Is the future you just talked about true?" Naruto nodded solemnly. Itachi smiled slightly and turned away. Looking at Itachi, Naruto was filled with mixed feelings as the figure walked away. It turned out that some things could not be changed even if they happened again. With this in mind, Naruto sealed the crow into the scroll and put it away. He was going to leave quickly. Here, Uchiha Itachi was walking and laughing happily, with blood in his eyes. If what Naruto said was true, it would be a wonderful ending. Is her name Sonara? I wonder if she is as cute as Sasuke when he was a child. I wonder if she will be like Sasuke when he was a child, pestering him every day and asking him to teach her shuriken. If he is not free, then he can tap Sarada's forehead. Thinking of this, Itachi smiled with joy from the bottom of his heart. He also wanted to live to that time and see it with his own eyes. The rain was coming, and the rain was coming. Rain Village. Tendo Pain stood on the high platform, and looked at the village below with a pair of samsara eyes. Conan, after the rain stops, you can use the technique to find the intruder. Behind Pain, Conan began to prepare to seal and said, "Leave it to me." As he said, Tendo Pain began to seal, and wanted to stop the Rain Tiger Free technique that covered the entire Rain Village. Rain Tiger Free technique. This is a large-scale perception ninjutsu that can cover the entire Rain Village. Once you are caught in this rain, your chakra will be detected by the caster. After Jiraiya came out of the frog's mouth on the water, he was already noticed by Tendo Pain, and a strange and powerful chakra appeared in the village. So, he wanted to stop the rain and let Conan use the technique to find Jiraiya. Tendo Pain clasped his hands for the last time, and the seal of the technique ended. Begin. Conan moved at the sound, and the paper dance started. Conan's body turned into countless pieces of paper, and then one piece after another began to fold and turned into one paper butterfly after another. At the moment when the rain stopped, countless paper butterflies gushed out from the high platform and covered the entire hidden rain village. Here, Jiraiya used a toad to turn into a wine house, played the role of a bartender, and captured two ninjas who worked for the hidden rain village ninjas. During the interrogation, one guy did not cooperate, so Jiraiya had to use the ninjutsu frog transformation technique to transform this guy into a frog. The other ninja wearing a turban was immediately scared when he saw his companion really turned into a frog. Before Jiraiya's hand came over, he finally told everything he knew. At this time, Jiraiya learned that Hanzo, who was once called a demigod. Hanzo, the man who almost beat himself, Orochimaru, and Tsunade, was killed by this Pain. The ninja wearing a turban said with admiration, "Lord Pain is a godlike existence, so he is naturally powerful." Jiraiya wanted to ask something else, but unfortunately, this was just a small minion who didn't know anything at all. After thinking it over, Jiraiya decided to meet this god in person, but before meeting this god, he decided one thing in his heart. He left the inner wall of the frog that judged the ninja, came to a frog altar, spit out the scroll Toad Tiger from his mouth, and asked Toad Tiger to unfold the key to the seal of the 9 tails, and he himself stamped the mobile handprint. Because Jiraiya felt that Pain was powerful, if something unexpected happened, he would let Toad Tiger enter Naruto's body. After doing all this, Jiraiya took the hooded ninja and went deep into the Rain Village again, where Pain was, the highest platform in the entire Rain Village. And Conan's butterfly was already flying all over the Rain Village. Under the highest platform of the Rain Village, a frog emerged from the water, looked around, and saw no one, then opened its mouth, stretched out one hand, supported on the water, and then the whole body came out of the frog's mouth. It was the hooded ninja caught by Jiraiya. He stood up, looked at the frog, and said kindly, "You go back to Konoha first, and find Ibiki after you go back. I have already told him." The frog screamed and said he would obey. It turned out that the hooded ninja was controlled by Jiraiya. "Then I'll leave it to you." The frog got his life, plunged into the water, and disappeared. Jiraiya controlled the guy wearing the turban and looked around again. "Yeah, very good. As long as we keep disguising like this, it will be fine." With that, he left. As soon as he left, 2 paper butterflies danced behind him, and then Conan emerged from behind the pillar in the dark. On the high platform, Xiaonan looked at the long-haired man Pain in front of him and said, "Found it, it's Jiraiya teacher." The long-haired man looked nostalgic and said with emotion, "Really? It's Jiraiya teacher, I really miss him." Xiaonan asked, "What should we do, Pain?" The long-haired man said indifferently, "Anyway, he is not our companion anymore. At this point, we have nothing to miss. Kill him. I have already used this body. Just treat him as an invader. Finish him off. Lead the way, Xiaonan." Xiaonan nodded and said, "I understand. I will lead the way. I will fight him before you arrive." The long-haired man followed Xiaonan's origami plane and said, "Okay, it would be best if we can kill him." After that, he jumped deep and followed the paper plane. Looking for Jiraiya. Here, Jiraiya controlled the hooded ninja and walked on the road. Suddenly, countless pieces of paper appeared and covered the hooded ninja. After a while, they were all wrapped up. Then, Conan appeared, and the paper turned into a sharp sword, and came up to kill the ninja. At the critical moment, Jiraiya suddenly appeared from the ground behind the hooded ninja. Fire escape. Flame bomb. A burst of fire spewed out of Jiraiya's mouth, directly burning countless pieces of paper, knocking Conan back and crashing into the wall. The fire burned the paper and stirred up a cloud of smoke. Because the hooded ninja lost Jiraiya's control, he showed his instinctive self-fright, supporting himself on the ground with his hands, gasping for breath. Jiraiya saw the person coming clearly, shouted, and slowly appeared from the ground. Conan jumped out of the smoke, looked at Jiraiya, and whispered expressionlessly, "Toad Haraikage operation technique." The old man was very happy. "It was originally a trap to lure Pain, but I didn't expect you to take the bait. It seems that your skills have become more sharp, and you have become a very good woman, Conan. But I didn't expect that you are still alive, and you have turned into a light piece of paper." Jiraiya said with a smile, as if he was greeting an old friend who had been reunited after a long time. The hooded ninja seized the opportunity and shouted, "You are the angel, right? This is the invader. I am controlled by him, angel." Conan floated high, transformed into 2 rows of wings, looked at the two and said, "I understand, you go aside." The hooded ninja was pardoned and ran for his life. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and looked at Conan and said, "Conan, you are really an angel now. Also, since you are not dead and not Pain, then Nagato and Yahiko should not be dead either. And if I guess correctly, you are an angel, and Tiandao Pain, the god, is one of them." Conan said coldly, "What's the point of saying this now?" Jiraiya gritted his teeth and said, "As expected." Conan said coldly, "This is God's order. I want to kill you." Then, the paper shuriken technique was launched. 2 rows of angel paper wings, like 2 Gatling guns, countless pieces of paper that made up the wings, like bullets, shot towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya did not dare to neglect, and directly used the fire dragon technique, spewing flames from his mouth, swinging continuously, burning countless pieces of paper. Then, he rolled on the ground, distanced himself, dodged the attack, and then opened his mouth directly, aimed at Xiaonan, and spit out a stream of toad oil bullets. Xiaonan was unable to dodge, and was soaked by the toad oil sprayed by Jiraiya. The paper shuriken technique came to an abrupt end. Jiraiya stood up, made a seal, and the long white hair behind him instantly became longer. He went directly towards Xiaonan and tied her up. "If you are stuck with oil, you can't separate, Xiaonan." Seeing Xiaonan whispering in silence, Jiraiya played the emotional card. "I remember that you were the most gentle among the 3 children. Why did you become like this now? Moreover, what on earth are Yahiko and Nagato doing? Why did they create a cruel and murderous god Pain?" Listening to Jiraiya's questioning, Conan snorted coldly and said, "Why are you appearing in front of us now?" There seemed to be some complaints and grievances in her tone. Unfortunately, Jiraiya didn't hear it either. He said seriously, "It's nothing, if you are not members of Akatsuki. I heard that you are all dead, but I didn't expect it to turn out like this." Conan sneered and said, "Teacher, you should have listened to Orochimaru and killed the 3 of us, and there wouldn't be so many things in the future." Jiraiya was a little surprised, and looked at Conan with concern and said, "I never thought of killing the 3 of you, I'm just very sad. I taught you how to survive in troubled times. There is no doubt that you are my disciples, but in the end, you attacked me without even saying hello, which is too chilling for me." Conan looked at Jiraiya and said, Teacher, you don't understand us at all. Jiraiya asked angrily, what happened to you later? Why did you become a member of Akatsuki? Don't you understand that everything Akatsuki did was wrong? That's the answer we got ourselves, Teacher Jiraiya. A sudden voice sounded, and Jiraiya looked up in surprise. High above Conan, the long-haired man Pain appeared. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes slightly. Yes, although his appearance had changed a lot, that eye, that ripple, was the Samsara eye, no mistake. Nagato, it seems that you have not been guided on the right path. It's just that the teacher didn't expect that you would become the Pain of the Akatsuki organization. What happened? Why did you become like this? The long-haired man said expressionlessly, you don't need to know. As he said that, the long-haired man directly made a seal, and a seal appeared on the wall behind him. Summoning technique. With a bang, a crab appeared in the seal, and then instantly spit out a large mouthful of foam, covering Conan and Jiraiya below. Jiraiya saw that something was wrong, and immediately dodged, jumped onto the wall, and praised, you are worthy of being my student, you know. My weakness, use the foam to wash off the oil on my body. Quote. After a while, Xiaonan jumped out of the foam, and the crab summoned by the long-haired man dissipated. Xiaonan, you retreat first. Xiaonan dissipated after hearing the sound, and then the long-haired man made a seal again, and a big lobster jumped out of the foam, with two big claws, intending to clamp Jiraiya. Jiraiya was not panicked at all, and directly used the chaotic lion hair technique to entangle the big lobster, and then directly contracted and tightened it. With a bang, the summoned beast was killed and dispersed. Now, Jiraiya seized the opportunity, and the lion hair instantly turned into a poisonous dragon, opened his mouth wide, and borrowed the white mist dispersed by the summoned beast to cover, and went straight to the long-haired man, and immediately entangled the long-haired man. Nagato, I want to ask you a few things, how is Yahiko? Jiraiya asked. The long-haired man replied with a dull expression, oh, have you ever had that guy? Quote. Jiraiya was shocked. Didn't Nagato want to protect Yahiko and Conan before? How come he has become like this now? What happened to you guys? The long-haired man looked around with a vigilant look on his face. Suddenly, the stone he was standing on was corroded and collapsed, and he jumped up quickly. At this moment, Shima Senin, who was standing on Jiraiya's right shoulder, tied a wall pillar with his tongue to act as a traction force for Jiraiya. Jiraiya rubbed a Rasengan with his left hand and attacked the long-haired man directly. Rasengan. A Rasengan hit the long-haired man's chest and directly pushed him into the acid pool in the barrier. Jiraiya took over and landed in front of the stone platform above the acid pool. He half-squatted and looked at the bubbles that were constantly corroding in the acid pool, gasping for breath. I dragged it to the barrier and finally killed one. It turned out that Jiraiya had just experienced a fierce battle. First, he fought with the long-haired man. In order to subdue him, Jiraiya had to use the sage mode and prepared to summon the two great toad sages, Fukasaku and Shima. As a result, because his hands could not move when he summoned, he was chased by various summoned beasts summoned by the long-haired man. Gamaken was summoned to help, but the summoned beasts on the opposite side were so fierce that they kept coming one after another. It was not easy to hold on until Jiraiya's sage mode was ready, and then Gamaken died with scars all over his body. Before leaving, he was very sorry and said that he was useless. In fact, he fought the most fiercely. Later, Jiraiya encountered 3 pains. Fortunately, with the help of the 2 great sages, he successfully killed 3 people. As a result, just when he was leaving, the 4th explosive pain suddenly appeared behind him. He was sneaking up. He even said what Jiraiya had said before. Teacher, you can't be careless when facing any opponent. As a result, Jiraiya was careless and didn't have time to dodge. With a bang, his left hand was taken away by the explosion, and Jiraiya was blown away and fell on the sea level outside. Blood gushed out from the remaining part of his left arm, staining his feet red. Cough. Jiraiya covered his left arm in pain. Senjin Fukasaku exclaimed, "Boy, your left hand." Then, 6 pains all appeared in front of Jiraiya. The 2 sides fought, and Jiraiya was knocked into the sea. Then, Jiraiya used the barrier to pull the long-haired man from the sea surface into the water and dragged him into the toad barrier, so that the 5 pains outside could not feel it. He appeared from the dark and attacked, one-on-one, with a Rasengan, and took the long-haired man away directly and knocked him into the acid pool. Jiraiya was panting, and the pain in his right arm was still piercing. Lord Fukasaku praised, "Well done, little Jiraiya." At this moment, something unexpected happened. The long-haired man jumped out of the acid, raised his right hand, and a thin black chakra stick shot out from his sleeves and came directly towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya subconsciously blocked it with his right hand, but his arm and right shoulder were pierced directly. In an instant, Jiraiya felt weak, spit out a mouthful of blood, and then collapsed to the ground with his back against the wall. And the long-haired man finally died of exhaustion and fell in front of Jiraiya. Shima Sennin on the right shoulder asked with concern, "Are you okay, kid?" Jiraiya took a few deep breaths, spit out a mouthful of blood foam and said, "You can still hold on." The ninja was in pain and moved his arm with difficulty to break the black stick. As a result, just after breaking the black stick remaining in the body received the chakra information of 6 paths of pain. Jiraiya's body trembled and he lowered his head in pain and said, "The chakra of the body is disordered." Sir Fukasaku on the left shoulder looked back at the black stick remaining in Jiraiya's body. "Is it because of this?" Then, he hurried over, pulled out the remaining black stick and threw it on the ground. Shima Sennin exclaimed, "Who are these people? Not only are their bodies very strange, but the weapons they use are so weird. They can't be considered human beings. What else should we say?" Jiraiya closed his eyes in pain, broke free from the black stick on his arm, and then drooped it weakly. Thinking about what the ninja wearing a headscarf said, "No one has seen him, no one knows what he looks like, and some people even say that he doesn't exist at all." Jiraiya was very depressed. The face of the Tendo Pain just now was obviously Yahiko, but Yahiko didn't have the Samsara eye. At this moment, the wristband on the forehead of the dead long-haired man, the cloth binding it slipped off because it was corroded by the acid, revealing his forehead. Jiraiya fixed his eyes. As soon as he saw it, he was shocked. He recognized it. The Fukasaku and Shima, who were on his left and right shoulders, asked Jiraiya what was wrong. Jiraiya then explained, "This guy is not Yahiko at all, he is a man from the Fuma clan. He had met me once before, and the mark on his forehead was left by me when we fought. He is not Nagato, the person outside." Jiraiya had a bold guess in his heart, but he had to go out and take another look to be sure. "Brother, sister, I want to go out again," Shima Sage exclaimed. "What?" Fukasaku Sage also exclaimed. "No, little Jiraiya, you will most likely be killed directly after going out this time. Run away quickly, little Jiraiya, while the enemy hasn't noticed this place yet." Jiraiya looked at the long-haired man's corpse in front of him and said, "Maybe this is what the Great Toad Sage said, the difficult choice I am facing. If I don't go out now, no one may have the opportunity to get so close to Pain and reveal his identity. Big brother, big sister, please bring the current information and the body of the long-haired man back to Konoha and tell Tsunade." Quote. Senrin Fukasaku glanced at Jiraiya, then smiled and said, "For this kind of thing, the child's mother can do it alone." Jiraiya looked at Senrin Fukasaku in surprise, and said in embarrassment, "But..." Senrin Shima looked at Senrin Fukasaku and reminded him, "Be back before dinner." Senrin Fukasaku tilted his head to look at Senrin Shima and replied, "After it's over, I will go back to eat with little Jiraiya." Senrin Shima smiled and nodded. Jiraiya was very moved. At this critical moment of life and death, Senrin Fukasaku was willing to accompany him. "Thank you, very much." On the sea, 5 Pains are still searching for Jiraiya's traces. Among them, Bomb Pain was looking around. Under the water, a frog emerged from the depths of the seabed. When it approached the water surface, it spit out the lid of its mouth. Jiraiya and Master Fukasaku came out of the frog's mouth, then emerged from the water and hid behind a building stone. Master Fukasaku summoned a shuriken and threw it out quickly. Bomb Pain instantly sensed it through the vision of other Pains and dodged it directly. At the same time, the other 4 Pains came one after another and surrounded Jiraiya directly. Jiraiya looked around at the 5 Pains, and his surprised expression was written all over his face. It was true. Every Pain here had met him once. He finally knew the true identity of Pain. Jiraiya was about to tell Master Fukasaku, and the 4 Pains took off into the air. Then, a hand broke out of the water like a ghost from under the water near Jiraiya, and then like lightning, it pinched Jiraiya's throat. The purpose is to destroy Jiraiya's throat and make him unable to tell the truth. The four Peens who jumped up, each holding a black stick, were ready to attack together and stab Jiraiya to death. Just when Bomb Pain's hand was about to approach Jiraiya's neck, a kunai appeared beside Jiraiya at an incredibly fast speed. With a buzzing sound, a figure appeared out of thin air, directly grasped the kunai, and then spun around. Rasengan. A direct Rasengan spun Bomb Pain to the bottom of the sea. The leaping Tendo Pain frowned. When did the support come? Just as they were about to finish it together, a buzzing sound of breaking through the air like lightning came. Senjutsu, Rasenshuriken. The huge wind escape chakra exploded directly above Jiraiya's head. As the main body, Tendo Pain did not let the absorbing ninjutsu pain, but directly used Shinra Tensei to bounce the attack downwards to Jiraiya. Because the area of the exploded wind shuriken was too large, it directly blocked the way of the four Peens, and they could not kill Jiraiya. It takes time to absorb the ninjutsu, and Jiraiya will run away. So using Shinra Tensei to bounce this attack to Jiraiya, he will definitely die. But Tendo Pain did not expect that when the wind shuriken exploded, another figure had already appeared behind Jiraiya. He picked up Jiraiya and disappeared from the spot with a hum. With a bang, the power of the wind shuriken exploded, and the water surface was constantly spinning, like a tornado, and there were traces of wind shuriken cutting and spinning everywhere. The four Peens jumped to a high place and looked down. Tendo Pain was surprised and said in his heart, "What a strong wind." Escape, who is it? Quote, not far away, Jiraiya looked at the person who was holding him like a princess, and said in surprise, Naruto. Naruto couldn't stop crying. He just stared at Jiraiya, and when he heard Jiraiya calling him, he came back to his senses, slowly opened his mouth, and said with a crying voice, "Now, when I buy 2 popsicles in the future, someone will share them." The wind escape power was gone, and the 4 heavenly path pains fell down again. The Hell Path Pain put his hands on the water, then stood up and shook his head. Heavenly Path Pain tilted his head and said expressionlessly, "Because it is a weapon iron block, it was directly smashed by the Rasengan, spun into the sea, sank, and could not be sensed." It turned out that the Bomb Pain just now was smashed by Naruto's shadow clone, and spun into the sea with a Rasengan, and sank. It could not be salvaged and could not be sensed, so it could not be resurrected. It was Naruto's real body who took Jiraiya away. The fairy method. Rasenshuriken was performed by 2 shadow clones of Naruto not far away. The mark on the flying kunai was the Flying Thunder God technique of the 4th Hokage. In his previous life, Naruto, as a Hokage, learned his father's Flying Thunder God technique to make up for his own combat power after losing the 9 Tails and the 9 Tails mode. He had already prepared it on the way to save Jiraiya. Unexpectedly, it really came in handy. Naruto put Jiraiya down and asked with concern, "Can you still hold on, Jiraiya teacher?" The toad of Fukusaku suddenly interrupted, looked at the orange mark in the corner of Naruto's eyes, smelled the smell, and said in surprise, "Little ghost, who are you? How do you know the toad magic?" Naruto looked at the toad in front of him and was about to say hello, but then he thought, oh, at this time, Master Fukusaku had not seen him yet. Here, Jiraiya also noticed the changes in Naruto, especially the orange mark between his eyes, which was the external manifestation of the toad magic. Looking at Naruto, he has mastered the magic better than himself. His appearance has not changed much. In addition, the kunai stuck in the ground as the sword of ninja love of the 4th generation Minato Namikaze. When did Naruto learn his father's Flying Thunder God, and he can even do magic? Who taught him this? Jiraiya looked at Master Fukusaku and said with difficulty, "Brother, this is my other apprentice, Naruto." Sage Fukusaku said in shock, "What? Another apprentice? You are the 9 Tails Jinchuriki, Naruto." Tendo Pain looked at Naruto in front of him and shouted directly. Unlike Sage Fukusaku, who never knew him, Akatsuki has been collecting tailed beasts, so they are naturally familiar with the information of tailed beasts Jinchuriki. Naruto looked at Tendo Pain, and then looked at Jiraiya's disabled arm. Although he was not in danger of life after being beaten like this, as a disciple. Although I have forgiven you before, to be honest, seeing you again, especially seeing the teacher like this with my own eyes, I really want to beat you to death with my own hands. After Naruto finished speaking, he was filled with murderous intent. Jiraiya hurriedly said, Naruto, don't fight, go quickly, these people are actually controlled, they are not Pain at all, they are all corpses, Pain is actually. I know, Naruto said calmly. Jiraiya covered his right arm and looked at Naruto with some surprise. Naruto came to Jiraiya's side, supported him, looked at Tendo Pain in the distance and said, Nagato. When I send Jiraiya teacher to safety, I will come to settle accounts with you, and tell you in person how precious the things you once abandoned are, and how ridiculous the things you believe in now are. After speaking, Naruto directly used the Flying Thunder God technique to take Jiraiya away. Tendo Pain looked at the kunai on the ground and said thoughtfully, the instant body technique, no wonder Jiraiya was saved before Shinra Tensei's attack. The paper was flying, and Konan came to Tendo Pain. Don't chase them, just let them go. Tendo Pain looked ahead and said, we have lost 2 pains, the power of the 6 paths is not enough to fully deploy, and the instant body technique is quite troublesome to track. The number of enemy reinforcements is unknown. After reorganizing Pains, I will go to Konoha to hunt the 9 tails. After speaking, Tendo Pain turned around and led the other Pains back to the platform. Myoboku Mountain. Shima Sage Toad looked at Jiraiya and said, boy, bear the pain, and said, apply the medicine on Jiraiya's broken arm. Jiraiya gritted his teeth, and sweat kept flowing from his forehead. The Sage Toad Fukasaku looked at Naruto and said, if this little brat hadn't shown up in time, little Jiraiya might have died somewhere. The Sage Toad Shima wrapped a bandage around Jiraiya and said in fear, I told you not to go, but you. Well, I finally came back safely. Quote, Jiraiya panted heavily. The damage to his body was indeed great this time, but Naruto's appearance was more surprising to him than finding out the true identity of Pain. Especially, when did this kid grow to this point? Toad Magic, Rasengan, Flying Thunder God. The 3 combined to fight, it was so smooth, even better than his father, the 4th generation. Jiraiya was also very pleased, he really deserved to be his apprentice. However, I still have to ask. Naruto, how did you appear there, and you learned your magic and Flying Thunder God from him? Shima Sage Toad looked at Naruto in surprise and said, this kid can do magic. Sage Fukasaku nodded and said, yes, mother, it's this kid, the magic he mastered seems to be more powerful than little Jiraiya. And when he uses magic, he rarely turns into a toad, only a small amount of orange marks on his eyes. Quote, Shima Sage Toad was shocked and said, who did you learn this from, little Jiraiya, did you teach him? Jiraiya shook his head. Shima Sage Toad and Fukasaku Sage Toad were even more surprised. Naruto was silent for a while. He looked at Jiraiya and said, teacher, I'm sorry, I can't tell you these for the time being. When the time is right, I will tell you everything. Please understand my difficulties. Jiraiya looked at his apprentice and even wanted to see through him. After a few seconds, Jiraiya chuckled and said, okay, the child has grown up and always has his own secrets, but the teacher hopes that you will always walk on the right path, you know. Quote, Jiraiya's eyes dimmed as he spoke. Because he had figured out that the real manipulator behind Pain was Nagato, the Samsara Eye. Thinking that his disciple had the heart to kill him, Jiraiya's heart sank. Teacher, don't worry, I, Uzumaki Naruto, will protect Konoha, everyone, and the entire ninja world even if I lose my life. Looking at Naruto's firm and sincere eyes, Jiraiya was a little distracted. Then, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he looked at Naruto and said, maybe, you are the son of prophecy mentioned by the great Toad Sage. The 2 toads were so busy that they had to face each other. After hearing what Jiraiya said, Shima Sage Toad and Fukasaku Sage Toad also looked at Naruto. Yes, the big Toad Sage said that the child of prophecy was among Jiraiya's disciples. From this point of view, this kid is obviously more reliable than that Nagato. Thinking of this, the 2 big Toad Sages' good impression of Naruto rose. Naruto knew what the child of prophecy meant, he just smiled and didn't respond. After saving Jiraiya teacher, he kept looking at Jiraiya teacher, as if the figure of this man was fleeting. Jiraiya also noticed this, looking at Naruto, and asked strangely, what's wrong? My sage mode has been unlocked, but the sage mark on my face hasn't disappeared yet. Naruto wiped the tears that fell unconsciously and responded with a cover-up. Yeah, it's okay, it's just that I haven't seen the teacher for a long time, and I miss him a little. Jiraiya was a little moved. He had just been attacked by his former disciple Nagato, and now he encountered Naruto's true feelings. Even he, who was a gamer, couldn't escape this at this moment. Unconsciously, his tears were also rolling in his eyes. In order to cover it up, Jiraiya deliberately raised his head and smiled. What are you doing, a boy, being so sentimental? I really miss the teacher. Quickly show the teacher the transformation technique so that the teacher can find some writing inspiration. Naruto was amused by Jiraiya and laughed. Shima Sage Toad looked at Jiraiya and said, okay, the bandage is basically done. You just need to rest for a while. Dinner is ready. Little Naruto, come and eat. When Fukasaku Sage Toad heard that they were going to have dinner, he immediately said happily, Mom, did you prepare anything delicious tonight? Naruto's heart skipped a beat. He didn't forget that when he came to Myoboku Mountain to practice in his previous life, he had eaten a lot of Shima Sage Toad's dark dishes. All kinds of insects, especially the wriggling earthworms, were placed in the bowl. At that time, Fukasaku Sage Toad ate them like noodles, and they were so delicious. He had no appetite at the time. He vomited directly after taking a bite. Although everything is nostalgic after returning, let's forget about this dark dish. Just as Naruto was about to refuse, Jiraiya spoke up. Brother, sister, I think we should go back to the village first and report Pain's information to Tsunade. This is very important to me. Jiraiya was about to stand up, and Naruto hurried over to support him. Senran Toad Fukasaku said politely, Little Jiraiya, please have dinner before leaving. Mommy has prepared everything for the children. Senran Toad Shima agreed. That's right, I also specially prepared fresh earthworm noodles. Hearing this dish, Jiraiya and Naruto said in unison, and swallowed their saliva in fear. Shima Sage Toad looked at the two people's faces and asked in confusion, What happened to you two masters and apprentices? Jiraiya hid his embarrassment and smiled. Ah, yes, nothing, thank you for your courtesy, but I really have to go back to the village first and come back another day. Naruto also smiled and said, Yes, it's not too late for us to come back another day. Seeing that he couldn't keep them, Fukasaku Sage Toad said, Okay, then you go back to the village first. Shima Sage Toad said regretfully, Really, you two boys, such a good meal, you don't stay to eat. Jiraiya and Naruto frowned and scratched their heads at the same time. Jiraiya put on his clothes and looked at Naruto and said, Can we go directly to the village? If not, I will ask Gamma to use the reverse summoning technique to go back. Naruto thought for a while and said, It should be possible. Because in the house of his father, the fourth generation, although he did not inherit it at this time, he inherited his father's house after the Fourth World War. He remembered that there was a sword of love with a mark left over from his father's previous use. After Jiraiya got Naruto's reply, he bowed to the two big toads, Shima Senran and Fukasaku Senran, and said, This time, I trouble you too. Naruto also bowed. After all, the two great sages helped him and his master Jiraiya a lot. Let's go, Naruto. Oh, Naruto put his hand on Jiraiya's shoulder, and with a buzz, the two disappeared. The next moment, the two people appeared directly in the house of the fourth generation. As soon as they landed, the two people began to cough. Cough, cough, cough. Naruto, I'm going, you. Where did you fly to? Why is there so much dust? Quote. Naruto was also coughing. He stood up and looked around. Then he realized that he had flown to the storage room in his house. As for dust, it was inevitable. After all, no one had lived there for more than 10 years. Jiraiya looked at a sword of love tied with a rope not far away and hung there. He was a little confused. Then he walked to a wardrobe and opened it. Dust flew everywhere. Jiraiya frowned, covered his nose, and looked around. Then, his eyes focused on a cloak. He picked it up and saw the logo of the fourth Hokage on the back of the cloak. Jiraiya seemed to think of something and asked in surprise, Where is this? Yes, it's my original home. Quote. Naruto's eyes were full of nostalgia. When he walked in here alone, he stayed here for a long time and cleaned up for a long time. Revisiting the old place, the old memories, like waves, surged into his mind one after another. Naruto stood in front of the hanging sword of love, feeling a lot of emotions, then raised his head, took a deep breath and exhaled, trying to calm his emotions and stop crying. Jiraiya put his cloak back, closed the closet door, and said thoughtfully, "So that's it, Naruto, you already know your life experience." In order to give Jiraiya teacher a reason, Naruto nodded and said, "Yes, when the Nine Tails chakra erupted, I almost lost control, and my father left chakra in my body, so I knew my life experience." Quote. Jiraiya nodded. He knew the fourth Hokage well. The advance plan was entirely his work. It seems that the fourth Hokage did it on purpose to seal half of the Yang chakra in Naruto, which also verified his guess. That is, the fourth Hokage never did meaningless things. Then, your flying thunder god and fairy technique must be related to that meeting. Seeing Jiraiya ask this, it was exactly what Naruto wanted. He originally planned to push the blame on his father first. After all, there was no evidence, so it would be much easier. So, Naruto nodded and said, "Yes, they were all given to me by my father." Quote. Jiraiya was a little shocked. Kato was really amazing. He ignored the obstacles of Mount Myoboku and could pass on the magic to Naruto. Also, as expected, a tiger father will have a dog son. Naruto is really magnanimous. Flying thunder god, magic. Not only did he master it, but he was also very good at it in actual combat. Jiraiya looked at Naruto, and the more he looked at him, the more he liked him. The more he thought about it, the more certain he became. The son of prophecy is Naruto. In the office of the fifth Hokage, Tsunade was touching Jiraiya's broken arm, and her face was silent. And Jiraiya was chattering on and on about the intelligence. Shizune was holding the little pig and standing beside him. Naruto stood aside, looking at the two people, and sighed in his heart. In his previous life, he always complained about Tsunade's mother-in-law. Why did she let Jiraiya go to such a dangerous place alone? Because if Jiraiya teacher became Hokage, he would definitely not let Tsunade go there alone. But now seeing this scene, Naruto felt that even if Tsunade stopped Jiraiya from going, he would probably still go to the Rain Shadow village alone. Epsilon equals Omicron ***, alas. Naruto sighed. Jiraiya, a lascivious teacher, never forgot Tsunade. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and frowned, "Why do you do this? If it weren't for Naruto, you wouldn't be able to come back." Jiraiya laughed and said, "That's just right. You always lose when you bet. This time, I'll let you win for once." With a snap, Tsunade slapped Jiraiya on the face, biting her lips, tears streaming from her eyes. "Baka, you fool." Jiraiya was slightly stunned, then his eyes softened, and he raised his only hand and touched Tsunade, the hand that hit him on the face. Shizune saw this and quickly gave Naruto a look. Naruto said, "Oh," and quickly followed Shizune and left the Hokage's office. Walking out of the door, Sister Shizune let out a long sigh and said, "Master Jiraiya is finally back safely." Naruto asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Shizune held the pig and took Naruto outside, saying as she walked, "You don't know, Master Tsunade has been depressed during the time Master Jiraiya went to Rain Village, and she didn't even have an appetite for food." "Really?" Naruto asked in surprise. It seems that Master Jiraiya's position in Grandma Tsunade's heart is still very important. Naruto thought in his heart that he had successfully saved Master Jiraiya after his rebirth this time. He hoped that Master Jiraiya could have a marriage with Grandma Tsunade, and it would be best if they had a son or a daughter. At that time, he could take the newborn as an apprentice and train him in the direction of Hokage. Thinking of this, Naruto couldn't help but look forward to it. In the Hokage's office, after Jiraiya's hand touched Tsunade's hand, Tsunade's originally tense emotions were suddenly released, and she leaned on Jiraiya's arms all of a sudden. Tsunade is also a girl. In the past, she was very gentle and had a little girl's side in front of the person she loved. But later, her brother and the person she loved died one after another, and her heart gradually closed up. She also suffered from hemophobia because of this. Because loving someone means accepting and being prepared to lose him at the same time. Tsunade really doesn't want to endure this kind of pain again. So, for so many years, she has been rejecting Jiraiya's love. Until that time, when Jiraiya brought Naruto to ask Tsunade to go back to be Hokage, Naruto's resolute heart showed the kind of fearless, courageous, and goal-oriented momentum when facing Orochimaru and Kabuto. It reminded Tsunade of her brother and her lover Dan. Especially when Naruto was seriously injured in the end, he still lived tenaciously and did not die like his brother and Dan. This gave Tsunade the courage to believe again. Therefore, Tsunade gave Naruto the necklace of her grandfather, the first Hokage, as well as her love for her brother and her belief in the dream of becoming a Hokage. This time, Jiraiya came back alive and let Tsunade understand. Perhaps, she could also bury her longing and love for Duan and accept Jiraiya's love. Just as Tsunade was thinking this, she raised her head and saw Jiraiya's lustful eyes, looking down at her proud. And that only hand was still ready to move. Baga, you fool. Tsunade hit Jiraiya on the head with a heavy punch. Jiraiya flew backwards and fell into the wall. Jiraiya touched his head and cried, "What are you doing? I didn't die in Pain's hands, but I will die in your hands. My wounds haven't healed yet." Tsunade crossed her arms and said angrily, "What are you afraid of? I will heal you if you get hurt." Jiraiya touched his head and muttered, "This is just a prank. Oh, it hurts so much, I was just hugging you, and now it's like this, really, oh, it hurts so much." Looking at Jiraiya's frustrated look, Tsunade chuckled. What a disgusting guy, so frivolous all day long. Downstairs in the Hokage building, at the door of the first floor, Naruto and Shizune, who had just walked here, heard a vibration from upstairs. Naruto was startled and hurried to go up, but Shizune pulled him back and said, "Don't go, Tsunade-sama is upstairs, what are you afraid of?" Naruto thought about it and it made sense, this is Konoha, and the Hokage is here, no one can hurt his master. Unless Tsunade-sama. But that's not something he can solve. Okay, I'll go first. Sister Shizune, if Master and Tsunade-san have anything to say, let them call me again. Shizune nodded and said, "Well, I'll send someone to call you if there's anything." Turning around, Naruto left quickly, because when he returned to Konoha, there was a place he had to go. Walking on the street, Naruto was constantly greeted by people he knew. At this moment, he had been accepted by most people in the village through the accumulation of previous events and was no longer so repulsive. If it were according to the normal timeline, Jiraiya would be dead now. In the near future, Pain would attack Konoha, Naruto would fight, and then he would completely become a hero of Konoha, admired by everyone. Walking on this bustling Konoha commercial street, Naruto made up his mind secretly. Since he could save teacher Jiraiya, he could also hope to save Konoha. After all, with this memory, he didn't want to be destroyed again. Just as he was thinking, Naruto suddenly stopped and looked at an alley behind him. He smiled slightly, then pretended not to care and continued walking. After Naruto left, a man wearing a dog head mask appeared in the alley. Chapter 11. The crowds were busy, and the food was good. Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant was crowded with customers. "We're finally here." Naruto finally stopped here, with a happy expression on his face, and then stepped forward. "Uncle, give me a bowl of pork bone ramen, a big bowl." Naruto pulled open the curtain and shouted happily. Uncle Ichiraku agreed with a, "Okay." Then he looked up and said happily, "Oh. It's Naruto. Didn't you say you were on a mission? How are you? You've completed it and are back." While greeting Naruto, Uncle Ichiraku continued to cook noodles, working without stopping. Just then someone finished eating and left. Naruto sat down and said with a smile, "Yeah, I went on a mission, but something happened on the way, so I went back to Konoha." Uncle Ichiraku picked up the noodles and said, Sao ga, then Uncle will give you more ingredients to reward you." Naruto heard this and said happily, "Thank you, Uncle." Looking at the big bowl of tonkatsu ramen in front of him, and there were still a lot of ingredients, Naruto obviously knew that Uncle Ichiraku had taken special care of him as usual. The steaming aroma came, and the taste of memory emerged. Naruto sighed, his eyes were already wet. The food in memory, sometimes, is the most soothing when a person is lonely. Naruto put the chopsticks together between his palms and said with a sense of ritual, "I'm starting." Then, Naruto broke open the disposable chopsticks and began to eat with big mouthfuls. Slurp, slurp. Naruto sucked ramen after ramen into his mouth. The feeling of eating ramen in large chunks made Naruto forget the pain caused by the Otsutsuki clan. Uncle Ichiraku looked at Naruto eating so happily and said with a smile, "Naruto, if it's not enough, tell me again and I'll add more noodles for you." Naruto nodded and didn't bother to be polite with the uncle. Uncle Ichiraku was like another relative to Naruto. He started to help Naruto since he was a child. When Naruto was a child, he often didn't have enough to eat. Every time he passed by Ichiraku ramen, he would be attracted by the aroma. Uncle Ichiraku felt sorry for little Naruto and often invited him to eat ramen for free. When Naruto and Hinata got married, Uncle Ichiraku finally gave him a lifetime free ramen coupon. After drinking the last mouthful of ramen soup, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. It was great. It was so comfortable. Naruto has been eating Ichiraku ramen since he was a child. In his previous life, when he was practicing hard, or when he needed to motivate himself, or when he was unhappy, Naruto would come to Ichiraku ramen restaurant, eat a bowl of noodles, and then continue to fight with high morale the next day. It can be said that ramen, to a certain extent, has become one with Naruto on his ninja path. Uncle, give me a bowl of tonkatsu ramen. Hey, what a coincidence, Naruto. After eating and savoring the food, Naruto looked up and exclaimed, Teacher Iruka. Iruka smiled and said, yeah, you're not on a mission, Hey, what's wrong, Naruto? Naruto hugged Teacher Iruka and thought about his past life, when Teacher Iruka stood in front of him to protect himself as the Hokage, and that dead figure. It's okay. Naruto sniffed, let go of Teacher Iruka, calmed down and continued, I haven't seen Teacher Iruka for a while, I miss you. Teacher Iruka looked at Naruto's red eyes and felt a little surprised, then lightly punched Naruto's shoulder and laughed, hey, kid, what's wrong, you're so sad, and suddenly hit me like this, tell me, did you encounter something? Naruto waved his hand and said, it's okay. Then he smiled again. Iruka took the pork bone ramen handed to him by Uncle Ichiraku, picked up the chopsticks, broke it open, then picked up a noodle, slurped it, and looked at Naruto while eating and asked, is it about Sasuke? Naruto shook his head and said, it's not about Sasuke. Iruka chewed the noodles in his mouth, looked at Naruto with some curiosity and said, what is that, making you so sentimental, not like the courageous you at all? Naruto smiled. In front of Iruka, Naruto relaxed himself very much. This is the first person who recognized him. In Naruto's life, Teacher Iruka is like a close friend, like a brother, always watching him and giving him love. Otherwise, in the previous life, Naruto would not let Iruka act as his father and attend the wedding. After all, Jiraiya was not there in the previous life. The elder brother is like a father, only Iruka teacher. It's okay, I just haven't seen you for a long time, I want to hug you. Naruto smiled. Really? Iruka asked. Naruto nodded. Just as they were talking about the past, Konohamaru came. Brother. Naruto turned around and saw Konohamaru running in front of him, lifting the curtain, panting, followed by Udon and Moegi. Hey, Konohamaru, long time no see. Ah, Udon and Moegi are here too. As he said that, Naruto walked down from his seat and touched Konohamaru's head. Naruto's number 1 younger brother, the successor of the 8th Hokage. In the previous life, he also died in battle for himself. As for Udon and Moegi, although Naruto did not see them with his own eyes, he estimated that they were in danger. When the nest is overturned, there will be no eggs left intact. Konohamaru looked at Naruto touching his head, not angry at all, swallowed his saliva and said, brother, I finally found you, you ran away. Naruto was a little surprised and said, what's wrong? Konohamaru smiled and said, Tsunade asked you to go to the Hokage's office quickly. So soon. Naruto was a little emotional, he just came out for a meal, and he had to go back by himself. Okay, let's go, Konohamaru, Iruka teacher, I'll go first. Iruka waved his hand and said, well, since the Hokage summoned you, you should go quickly. Konoha, the root. Danzo stood motionless in front of a statue with a cane. Behind him, a man with a dog head mask was half kneeling on the ground, reporting to Danzo. You mean, the Nine-Tails kid has returned to Konoha village and brought back Jiraiya? The dog-headed man nodded, yes. Danzo narrowed his eyes, thinking about something in his mind, and then said, go down and continue to monitor the Nine-Tails. Hey, with a whoosh, the root member disappeared into the darkness, leaving Danzo alone, standing here in deep thought. The two of them were in the Hokage's office. Kakashi and his team have returned to report. Because Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi had a big fight. After the battle, he was taken away by Uchiha Madara, and Kakashi and his team completely lost track of Sasuke. There was no way, the mission could not continue, so they had to return to Konoha first, report to the Hokage, and then make a decision. As a result, Kakashi, who had just returned, was called over by Tsunade and asked a lot. After learning that Naruto suddenly fainted, he seemed to have changed into a different person and left the team directly without even looking back, which made Tsunade and Jiraiya very confused. It was even heard that after Naruto confessed his love to Hinata by forcefully kissing her, Jiraiya stood up and exclaimed, "This boy is so fierce, he really deserves to be my apprentice." But he was frightened back to sit down by Tsunade's glare. Tsunade paced in place, thinking back and forth. Jiraiya was also thinking at the same time. He was thinking, since Naruto said that his Flying Thunder God and Senjutsu were taught by the fourth Hokage, how did he know that he would be in danger? Because in Jiraiya's opinion, if Naruto hadn't appeared suddenly, he would have really died there, and there would be absolutely no possibility of survival. It was too coincidental. It was as if he knew it in advance. Jiraiya was getting more and more frightened the more he thought about it, and decided to call Naruto to ask him carefully. And Kakashi was even more surprised. Because Tsunade has been training Kakashi as the successor of Hokage, basically all the major secrets of the Hokage village will be confessed to Kakashi, such as the details of Jiraiya's return this time. When Kakashi heard Naruto's magic, Flying Thunder God, Rasengan, and continuous display, and then returned with Jiraiya, he was completely sick. This kid has grown too fast. Originally, escaping from Yamato's would escape control that day had already shocked Kakashi. After all, magic. If you learn this thing, it means far beyond the strength of a Jonin. What the hell is Flying Thunder God? When did Naruto learn the skills of his father, his own master, the fourth Hokage? This is too incredible. You have to know that the difficulty of practicing time and space ninjutsu is not to mention the talent. The three elite Jonin guards of the fourth Hokage need to work together to complete this ninjutsu. Moreover, these three people can only move in space. According to Master Jiraiya, Naruto has already used it to perfection and is first class in actual combat. Kakashi was a little stunned. On the first floor of the Hokage, Naruto just arrived and saw a beautiful figure coming. Naruto-kun. Naruto had a blank expression on his face, but when he saw the person coming, he immediately smiled, Hinata. Then, he consciously opened his arms and prepared to hug Hinata. Because Naruto saw Hinata running over, he subconsciously thought that Hinata would rush up and throw herself into his arms and hug him just like in her previous life. Who knew that Hinata was so shy in the end because there were so many people? She just ran to Naruto and stopped, which made Naruto open his arms in a bit of surprise and stop there. Hinata shyly glanced at Naruto, pointed behind him and said, "Naruto-kun, there are children." Naruto looked back and saw, oh, Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon are all here, which has a bad influence. Then Naruto scratched his head and laughed awkwardly, "Hee, sorry Hinata." Behind Hinata, Haruno Sakura snorted coldly and crossed her arms. Shikamaru frowned a little and said in disbelief, "Hey, are they really the two of them?" Kiba came over and leaned over Shikamaru's ear, and said excitedly, "Is it true?" Naruto fainted and woke up, and he went straight to his mouth. After hearing this, Shikamaru was shocked and looked at Kiba with a look of disbelief. "Is it true?" Kiba patted Shino and said, "If you don't believe me, ask Shino." Shino pushed his glasses and nodded seriously. Sai was afraid that Shikamaru could not imagine the scene on the spot, so he directly drew a picture of the scene at that time. Ya took a look, gave a thumbs up, and praised, "Professional." Shikamaru looked at the painting, then looked at Naruto who was grinning outside, then clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Awesome, awesome." After flirting with Hinata and asking about the general situation, Naruto basically knew about Sasuke's situation. Just like in his previous life, Sasuke fought against his brother Uchiha Itachi, and in the end Sasuke won, Uchiha Itachi died, and then Sasuke was killed by the masked man. The guy, that is, Uchiha Madara disguised as Obito, was taken away. Then, Obito will tell Sasuke the truth, and then Sasuke will go to the Land of Lightning, Cloud Thunder Canyon, to hunt the Eight Tails. It seems that his own rhythm has to be improved. After saying hello to the friends on the first floor, Naruto came to the top floor of the Hokage office building, the Hokage office. Pushing the door open, Naruto greeted, "Grandma Tsunade, you called me." Then he glanced and said in surprise, "Teacher Kakashi is here too." Closing the door of the office, Tsunade sat upright on the Hokage's desk, with her hands on her chin, staring at Naruto and said, "Naruto, don't you have anything to say about this operation?" Facing the aggressive eyes of Grandma Tsunade, Naruto subconsciously looked at Jiraiya, but Jiraiya sat crookedly and didn't look at Naruto directly. Naruto rolled his eyes at teacher Jiraiya. This guy saved him in vain. Seeing his master like this, if he really gets together with Tsunade in the future, he will probably be a henpecked husband. Okay, if you don't ask, I will just play dumb. So, Naruto answered innocently, "What do you want me to say, Tsunade?" Tsunade sighed, then stood up, walked to the front of the Hokage's desk and leaned against it, crossed her arms, looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto, there is no one else here. I, your master Jiraiya, and Kakashi are all people you can trust. Your changes are too strange, and your strength has increased too outrageously, and you haven't told your master how you knew he was in the Rain Shadow village and successfully found him and saved him. I'm not doubting you, but you also know that as a Hokage, I have a lot to consider. I hope you can understand." Jiraiya coughed a few times after seeing Tsunade finished speaking, and said, "Naruto, no matter what happens, master, I believe you, but your grandmother Tsunade is more sensitive, and she is really worried about you, so if you tell her about these changes, she will be relieved." Quote. After listening, Naruto was silent for a few seconds, and then said, "I'm sorry, Grandmother Tsunade, I have nothing to say." Kakashi reminded, "Naruto, it is the Hokage who is asking you now, not Grandmother Tsunade. I hope you understand the position." "Of course I understand, but I also hope that Grandmother Tsunade can understand me. Everyone has their own secrets, and I am no exception. The only thing I can reveal is what I told my master. This is what my father, the fourth Hokage, gave me." Jiraiya and Tsunade were silent when they heard this, because they also thought of this. Kakashi was shocked when he heard what Naruto said. He said in disbelief, "The fourth Hokage? Naruto, you mean, you met the fourth Hokage? How is that possible? Isn't the fourth Hokage?" Jiraiya said, "The fourth Hokage left his chakra in Naruto's nine-tailed seal. When Naruto went berserk, the fourth Hokage's chakra came out. I guess he talked to Naruto and told him some things, which led to his current changes." Kakashi was a little surprised and said, "So that's it." Naruto looked at Tsunade and said, "Then, do you have anything else to do?" Tsunade looked at Naruto and frowned and said, "What's wrong?" Naruto looked at Jiraiya and said, "Teacher Jiraiya, come out for a moment, I have something to ask you." Then, Naruto nodded and walked out of the Hokage's office. Kakashi stretched out his hand and hurriedly shouted, "Naruto, wait." Before he finished speaking, Naruto went out. Jiraiya frowned and looked at Tsunade. Tsunade nodded and Jiraiya also went out. After Jiraiya left, Tsunade asked Kakashi again about all the circumstances of Naruto's departure from the village. It was learned that the nine-tailed beast almost never ran away during Naruto's entire journey. Because once the nine-tailed beast ran away, Yamato would definitely know it at the first time. The only abnormality was that Naruto suddenly fainted. Thinking of this, Tsunade suddenly fell into deep thought. Outside, it was already night. Jiraiya was sitting on a bench under a street lamp in Konoha. The sound of footsteps came hurriedly from the darkness. Jiraiya looked in the direction of the sound, raised his body and asked in confusion, "Where have you been? Why did you take so long to buy something?" Naruto hurriedly sat down, tore open the package, and panted and said, "I searched the freezer for a long time to find this flavor, which delayed me for a while." As he said that, Naruto took out a one-piece popsicle from the package, broke it open, handed one to Jiraiya and said, "Here, master, give it to me." Jiraiya took a look and was slightly stunned, and memories came to his mind. "The first time Naruto ate this double-headed popsicle was when I taught him the Rasengan. Naruto was thirsty and bought it himself. I thought he was going to treat me to something, but I didn't expect it to be this. The flavor I bought is the same as the one I bought at the beginning. Jiraiya smiled slightly and took the popsicle. Seeing this, Naruto smiled and ate the popsicle happily. A gust of autumn wind blew, and both of them felt a little cold. For this reason, Jiraiya complained a few words, saying that it was almost autumn, and he still dragged the old man over to eat popsicles, but to Naruto, this sounded so happy. Tell me, what do you want to ask me for? It's not just to ask me to eat popsicles, right? Naruto sucked the popsicle and shook his head and said, no, I asked the teacher to give me the key. Jiraiya stopped eating the popsicle, looked at Naruto, and said uncertainly, what key? Naruto looked over and said, the key to the seal of the 9 tails. Isn't it here with the teacher? Jiraiya took a bite of the popsicle and hesitated in his heart. Originally, before fighting with Pain, he had already made the handover of the 9 tails seal key and asked Gamatoin to return to Konoha first to find Ibiki. However, after Naruto rescued himself, especially the strength shown by Naruto, and such a secretive behavior, Jiraiya was a little worried for a while. Although he believed in his apprentice, and also believed in the choice and backup plan of the 4th generation. But how can I say it, I am still a little worried. Because he had seen the example of Nagato, Jiraiya was a little worried that Naruto might also go astray, then he would really have no apprentice. Probably seeing Jiraiya's worry, Naruto comforted him, don't worry, teacher, my father told me that he believes in me now, and let me come out to find you for the key, and practice the 9 tails chakra under your supervision. Jiraiya said in surprise, did the 4th generation teach you to do this? Naruto nodded and said, yes, otherwise do you think I have that idea and brain? Jiraiya nodded, sucking on the popsicle, thinking, it seems that some things can be understood. That's right, anyway, I am ready to hand over the key to Naruto. So, after Jiraiya finished the last popsicle, he said to Naruto, come on, get up, lend me a hand first. Naruto was a little confused and said, what for? Jiraiya rolled his eyes at him and said, I don't need a hand to make a seal. So, taking Naruto's hand, Jiraiya made a seal to summon Gamma Yin. Gamma Yin came out of Jiraiya's mouth and shouted, why did you call me out again? Then looking at Naruto next to him, who was greeting him, Gamma Yin looked at Jiraiya and said, have you really decided to give it to him? Jiraiya nodded and said, it was decided before. Now, since Naruto has taken the initiative to ask for it, just hand it over normally. Gamma Yin looked at Jiraiya's broken hand and said, you are in this state now, it's hard for you to even summon me out. If you really give it to this kid, once the 9 tails gets out of control and explodes, can you stop it? Jiraiya frowned a little. What Gamma Yin said made sense. Naruto smiled and said, it's okay. I'm not the Naruto I used to be. I have my own way to deal with the 9 tails. Since Naruto was reborn, he has tried to actively practice the 9 tails and even tried to enter the sealed place, the familiar sewer. As a result, the 9 tails directly closed. It closed the chakra connection with itself, which made it impossible for Naruto to enter. Naruto was very puzzled. He called the 9 tails many times but there was no response. So Naruto was anxious to get the key. He wanted to open the door and go in to see what happened. Why did the 9 tails ignore him? Tien looked at Naruto and frowned. Arrogant boy, do you know how terrible the 9 tails is? Just by opening the 4 tails, Jiraiya was severely injured. Enough, Tien. Jiraiya said, I have made up my mind. Let's go into Naruto's body. Tien sighed and said, okay. So, he stretched out his body, revealing the 9 tails seal pattern left by the 4th generation, and then looked at Naruto and said, put your handprint here, and I can enter your body. Naruto was very familiar with this, so he walked up and put his own handprint. Then, Gamma Yin put away, looked at Naruto and said, open your mouth wider, I'm going in. Naruto swallowed his saliva. He could never forget the feeling of the toad entering the warehouse, but he didn't expect to experience it again. Gamma Yin put his hands together, aimed at Naruto's open mouth and said, Yoshi, I'm coming. Ah, Naruto wanted to cry but had no tears, sobbing uncomfortably. Gamma Yin's front legs were digging in Naruto's mouth, and his hind legs were constantly stepping, complaining, hey, 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 open your mouth a little wider. Naruto whimpered, meaning that his mouth was opened as wide as possible. Jiraiya covered his forehead, sighed depressedly, and then came to Naruto. I'll hit you. With a slap, he pushed Gamma-yin directly in. With a gurgle, Naruto swallowed Gamma-yin, and then vomited with difficulty. Jiraiya finally finished something, and looking at Naruto who was retching, he said, in this way, the storage is considered a success. After a long time, Naruto was very happy. That night, after washing up, Naruto lay on the bed in his memory and stretched out. This is the house where he lived since he was a child. When Pain invaded Konoha in his previous life, it was destroyed by a Shinra Tensei. The moonlight outside was beautiful, but Naruto had no time to appreciate it. He closed the curtains, then lay down again, opened his pajamas, and slowly moved his hands down. Finally, he came to his navel, where the 9 tails was sealed. Chakra gathered at the fingertips of the 5 palms, and the 8-diagram seal emerged. Naruto pressed his palm on it, then turned it, and with a click, the first seal opened, and Naruto's chakra entered. Inside the sealed door, a pair of scarlet pupils suddenly opened, looking at the outside with hatred. Naruto smiled slightly, and then his mind sank. He opened his eyes again, and sure enough, he successfully entered this time and came to the familiar sewer. This road, Naruto is not too familiar. He stepped forward directly, walked to the front of the sealed door, and shouted, "Hey! 9 tails, I want to ask you what's wrong with you. You don't answer when I call you, and you cut off the connection with my chakra, so I can't get in without the key." The 9 tails walked forward slowly, staring at Naruto with scarlet eyes, grinning, as if to swallow Naruto on the spot. Naruto was a little strange, and approached and said, "What are you doing, looking at me like this?" As a result, when Naruto approached the door, the 9 tails didn't even say hello, and stretched out its claws directly. Fortunately, Naruto reacted quickly, otherwise the sharp and slender nails of the 9 tails would have pierced his soul and body. "I say Kurama, you are crazy, sneak attack me." Naruto cursed loudly. The 9-tailed fox gnashed his teeth and looked at Naruto, saying viciously, "Don't call me Kurama, you fake." Naruto hummed, looked at the 9-tailed fox in a daze and said, "You, what do you mean?" The 9-tailed fox paced in the sealed gate and said, "You are not Naruto's kid at all, Naruto only calls me Kurama. You occupied his body, I can feel your soul state, I don't know how many times stronger than that kid. You fake, who are you, why do you know the name Kurama? Get out of Naruto's body." As he said, the 9-tailed fox roared loudly, and the powerful sound of the tailed beast came from the sealed gate. Naruto covered his ears, and after the sound wave passed, Naruto smiled. So that's it. No wonder when he came back and tried to contact the 9-tailed fox, the 9-tailed fox ignored him at all, and even locked himself up. The fundamental reason is that the 9-tailed fox noticed the changes in Naruto's soul. The original Naruto seemed to have disappeared, and another soul entered Naruto's body. Therefore, the 9-tailed fox believed that Naruto had been possessed by someone, and the current Naruto was not the same kid as before. "Tell me, where did you take that kid Naruto?" the 9-tailed fox said angrily. Naruto smiled slightly in his heart and wanted to tease the 9-tailed fox, saying, "What's wrong? Don't you hate that kid the most? Why do you care about him so much?" The 9-tailed fox snorted coldly and said, "Do I need to explain to you what I care about?" Naruto crossed his arms and looked at the 9-tailed fox playfully, saying, "I'm sorry, the soul of that kid has been swallowed by me." After hearing this, the 9-tailed fox immediately flew up, his eyes became even more scarlet, and he wanted to go out immediately to tear Naruto in front of him apart with his hands. "You evil fellow, you are more hateful than me, I will eat you, you fellow." Looking at the angry look of Kyuubi, Naruto felt warm inside. This fellow said that he didn't care and was arrogant, but in fact, he was more worried than anyone else. Seeing Kyuubi grabbing the sealed door with his claws like a cat, trying to rush out and duel with Naruto, Naruto couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, Kyuubi, you are really, ha 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 ha, it really makes me laugh, ha 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 ha, you really haven't changed at all." Kyuubi roared. "I said, don't call me Kyuubi, you don't deserve it." Just kidding, Kyuubi is the nickname given to him by the Old Man of Six Paths. In addition to the Old Man of Six Paths, there are other tailed beasts who can call themselves that. It is an insult to it if others call it that. Naruto stopped laughing and looked at the Kyuubi in front of him, his former brother, and he chose to open his heart. Because Cuba can be said to be a companion. The person who has been with him the longest has been in his body since birth. Moreover, the Nine Tails knows a lot of Naruto's secrets. It can be said that the Nine Tails is the second Naruto, the roundworm in Naruto's stomach. After the Fourth Ninja War, the seal was gone, and the chakras of the two people were interoperable, and they understood each other's minds and fought side by side. There was nothing to hide. So, Naruto planned to tell the Nine Tails the truth. I am indeed not the old Naruto, but I am still Naruto, but I am Naruto who traveled from the future. Hearing Naruto's words, the Nine Tails of the Nine-Tailed Fox stopped dancing for a while, and then the Nine-Tailed Fox snorted coldly and looked at Naruto and said, "Can you make up a reliable reason? It's nonsense that anyone can travel through time and space." Naruto smiled and said, "It was the old man Ludao who sent me back." Hearing Naruto mention Ludao, the Nine-Tailed Fox glared and said, "What did you say?" Naruto sighed and said, "I said, it was the Six-Path Sage who sent me back. As for why I know your nickname, it's a joke. You may not believe it, but according to the trajectory of my previous life, I will follow Uncle Killer Bee and start practicing to master your chakra with the help of 8 tails, that is, Abba." The name of Nine-Tailed Fox was told to me by Abba. Quote, Nine-Tailed Fox looked at Naruto in surprise and said, "Baka. What a joke, 8 tails will choose to help you. Also, how could I be willing to let you master my chakra?" Naruto nodded in agreement and said, "Indeed, you haven't changed in this regard. You did not agree at that time. I remember that I treated you to a lot of meatballs, and then you had to agree." Quote, Nine-Tailed Fox grabbed the door and looked at Naruto more viciously. This guy, what he said was a lot of meatballs, and it was not a good thing to hear it. HMPH. You kid, you think you can beat me. I am the Supreme Nine Tails, Bakailu. Also, you kid, you even know the nickname of the 8 tails. It seems that you have collected a lot of information. Naruto said depressedly. These are all what you told me in the previous life. Besides, I know the nicknames of all the tailed beasts. Let me tell you. 1 tail, Shukaku. 2 tail, Matabi, also known as Nekomata. 3 tail, Isobu. 4 tail, Sun, that is, Sun Wukong. 5 tail, Mu Wong. 6 tail, Rhino Dog. 7 tail, Chongming. 8 tail, Niugi, that is, Ah Ba, Uncle Killer Bee likes to call Xiao Ba. 9 tail, Kurama, that is, you, the silly big cat. The old man was very happy. Naruto said it like a casual chat. However, to the Nine-Tailed, it sounded incredible that these secret names came out of Naruto's mouth so easily. You know, the nicknames of the tailed beasts were all given by the Six-Path Sage. After the Six-Path Sage left, only the few human Jinchuriki who were recognized by the tailed beasts knew them. However, Jinchuriki generally only knew the names of their own tailed beasts. Because after the Six Paths left, the relationship between the tailed beasts was not very good, and they did not mention each other. Some tailed beasts were even mortal enemies, like the Nine-Tailed and the One-Tailed. The Nine-Tailed often laughed at the One-Tailed for having few tails and less chakra. The One-Tailed was very angry and often scolded the Nine-Tailed, Dead Fox, and Stinky Raccoon Cat. Here, after listening to Naruto, Kyuubi was silent for a while, because he began to waver and believe what Naruto said, but he didn't believe it all. Kyuubi snorted coldly and said, "These are not enough to prove anything, but some secret history, which can still be found out." Naruto touched his chin, thought for a while and said, "Then what can I do?" "Think about it. If you can't find it out, I'll think about it." Kyuubi didn't make a noise at this moment, as if waiting for Naruto's answer. That's right. Naruto's eyes suddenly lit up, and he looked at Kyuubi and said, "Do you still remember the prophecy of the Six-Path Sage at his death?" Kyuubi's eyes narrowed, and his heart was shocked. Naruto smiled and looked at Kyuubi and said, "The blue-eyed boy who is playing and calling the names of the 9 beasts." Kyuubi's eyes suddenly condensed, and he looked at Naruto in front of him in surprise. That harmless smile made Kyuubi feel uneasy for the first time. Why uneasy? It is Kyuubi, the most powerful and evil existence in the world. But now, the young man in front of him could easily say the prophecy left by the creator of it, which made Juwei really hard to accept. "No, this is not true, you are not Naruto. Go, leave here, go." With that, Juwei turned around and walked to the depths of the sealed door, ready to ignore Naruto. Naruto was anxious and shouted, "Hey, hey, Juba, don't go. If you don't believe it, I can say it again, to prove it to you." Juwei ignored it and continued to walk deeper into the door. Naruto shouted, "Hey, Juba, don't delay things. If you do this, you will return to the Outer Path statue in the near future and be swallowed by the 10 tails. At that time, I will die." Juwei, who was moving forward, stopped, because when he heard Naruto say the secret words of the Outer Path statue and the 10 tails, Juwei's heart was even more shaken. Now, it basically believes it, but it needs time to digest it. Looking at the disappearing 9 tails, Naruto let out a cry and immediately wanted to remove the seal on the sealed door, open the seal on his stomach, and rush in to ask the 9 tails to eat meatballs. However, Naruto felt that someone was calling him all the time, and his mind became more and more unstable. "Naruto, Naruto, wake up, Naruto." Naruto opened his eyes with difficulty, and saw Jiraiya teacher, who was constantly slapping his face with his hands. "Ah, it's Jiraiya teacher." Naruto sat up, rubbed his eyes, and yawned. Jiraiya sighed and said, "Did you go to find the 9 tails?" Naruto scratched his head and said with a grin, "Teacher, how did you know?" Jiraiya rolled his eyes at Naruto and said, "How do I know? The 9 tails chakra is about to fly up to the sky. If I don't come, the whole village will know." Naruto was a little embarrassed. It should be that the 9 tails just vented its anger and the chakra leaked from the 8 diagram seal. At this time, Naruto noticed that there were many people standing around his house. Judging from their chakra, they were all very strong in the village. Naruto sighed, it seems that many people have been alarmed. Jiraiya knew what Naruto meant, opened the curtains, looked out the window and said, "It's okay, you can withdraw." Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninjas, spoke, and under the moonlight, many dog-headed masked people dispersed and left. Jiraiya closed the window again, drew the curtains, looked at Naruto and said, "I think you are too impatient. You just got the key and you ran to find the 9 tails alone. You said you would be under my supervision, but in the end, if the teacher hadn't been careful and followed you home and stayed near your house, you wouldn't have broken in tonight." "It's not me." Naruto raised his eyebrows and heard the hidden meaning of Jiraiya's teacher. "Besides Tsunade's Hokage Anbu, who else is there in the village's sealing team?" Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and looked at Naruto and said, "The people who just came, there are also roots, and their number and strength are not weak." Naruto sneered, "Ah, it turned out to be Danzo." Jiraiya walked towards Naruto's door, turned it open and said, "Be careful, Danzo and his roots have always used you as a weapon of Konoha and want to control you. Although I don't know what kind of means Danzo has to have such confidence, but my broken arm cannot be restored for the time being. Once the relationship is torn, I may suffer." Quote. Naruto felt warm inside and nodded. His master always considers himself first. Jiraiya is not afraid of Naruto going berserk, but he is afraid that after going berserk, he will be used by Danzo en route. Jiraiya's broken arm has not recovered, and his strength has been greatly reduced. In addition, Tsunade is the Hokage, so it is not easy to intervene. On the surface, Danzo dare not do anything, but if the 2 sides tear each other apart secretly, Jiraiya will suffer. After Jiraiya left, Naruto's eyes flashed with cold light. Just as Danzo en route, just like Naruto is the 9 tails Jinchuriki, Naruto is also thinking about Danzo. According to Sasuke's memories and narration in his previous life, Naruto knows all the details of the battle between him and Danzo. This old guy has a lot of good things. It's just that Naruto has always been afraid of Danzo's backhands, so he didn't touch him when he returned to Konoha. Now, people are trying to come to the door. Thinking about the time when Gaara was drinking in the previous life, Gaara recalled that Danzo at the 5-cage conference, the eye that was taken from Uchiha Shisui was used to cast an illusion on the samurai Mifune of the Land of Iron, asking him to recommend Danzo as the commander of the Ninja Alliance. At that time, Mifune did not feel that he was under the spell. Naruto made a judgment in his heart. Jiraiya teacher wondered why Danzo had such confidence. Presumably, it was because of Shisui's illusion, and such means that Danzo dared to make his own plans. After all, Shisui's illusion is awesome. Even if you are under the illusion, you don't know that you are under the illusion. You act completely according to the intention of the caster. Because Koto Amatsukami is not a visual illusion at all, you don't need to see it, you just need the caster to activate it. Naruto snorted coldly. There must be risks in using the eye that Itachi left for him on Danzo. Because Danzo's right eye is also Shisui's eye, and the illusion of the same origin may be detected in advance. Thinking of this, Naruto sighed. Home is a harbor after all, and his big ship is about to set sail. The route was in Konoha. Danzo leaned on his cane, squinted his eyes, and listened to the subordinates in front of him reporting Naruto's intelligence. So, Jiraiya's move prevented the Nine Tails from erupting. Yes, Master Danzo. Boom, boom, boom. Danzo leaned on his cane and walked in place. The only eye exposed to the outside showed a strange look at this moment. Go down. Yes. With a few sounds of breaking through the air, the root members retreated. Danzo was thinking in his heart. At the moment, Jiraiya had lost an arm and his strength was greatly reduced. As the Hokage, Tsunade had lost most of her help. As for Kakashi, as long as he uses a little trick, it won't be a problem. The biggest key is that he doesn't have a legitimate chance to get promoted. Danzo covered his right eye, and his left eye was sharp. Originally, he thought that if the Nine Tails rioted again, Tsunade and Jiraiya would definitely suppress it. When the two sides were almost fighting, he could take this opportunity to kill Naruto and control the Nine Tails from then on. Then, using the reason that Tsunade was incompetent and indulged the Nine Tails, he directly forced her to step down. By that time, there would be no consent or disapproval. His strength will surpass Konoha. If Tsunade doesn't step down, he will personally make her step down. As for those who resist, kill them all. The Uchiha clan can be slaughtered, so what is Tsunade's little power? Thinking that he still has so many Sharingans sealed in his body, Danzo's heart rises more confident. Humph. After becoming the strongest Hokage, I believe that with my plan, it is possible to take over the entire ninja world in due time. Danzo thought happily, but unfortunately, he didn't know that his idea would soon turn into a bubble. The next day, early in the morning, Naruto finished washing and eating breakfast, tidied up the house, and then arranged the mark of Flying Thunder God, left a shadow clone, sat cross-legged on the bed, closed his eyes and absorbed natural energy. After the arrangement, locked the door, Naruto jumped up, jumped onto the water tower in front of the house, looked back at the house behind him, sighed, and then left directly. At the gate of the Hyuga clan, Hinata ran out excitedly, looked at Naruto and said with a smile, "Naruto-kun, I heard you were looking for me." Naruto smiled and nodded. "Yes, Hinata." Hinata giggled, then pulled Naruto and asked him to go into the house. Naruto waved his hand and said, "No, it's not convenient." Guessing Naruto's worries, Hinata smiled and said, "It's okay, Dad and little sister are out, they are not at home for the time being, Brother Ninki is also on a mission with Teacher Kai, I am the boss at home now." After saying that, she did not forget to stick out her chest proudly. Naruto lovingly scratched Hinata's little nose with his hand and said, "Look at what you can do." This scratch made Hinata's face red. "What are you doing? Doing this to me?" Hinata was shy and didn't know what to do. Then, Hinata pulled Naruto and turned directly into the alley next to the door of the house, and then threw herself directly into Naruto's arms. Naruto was very surprised, then smiled, hugged Hinata with both hands, and lowered his head to smell Hinata's hair fragrance. This hair fragrance is engraved in Naruto's soul memory. This fragrance is the greatest comfort for the reborn Naruto. The panic, fear, uneasiness and other things in his heart disappeared at this moment. That day, there were too many people downstairs of the Hokage's office building, so I didn't have the nerve to hug you. Now I make it up to you, hehe. After saying that, Hinata didn't forget to rub her head in Naruto's arms. Naruto smiled happily, then stroked Hinata's hair and said, "Hinata, there is something I want to tell you in advance." Hinata raised her body, looked at Naruto with a smile and said, "What is it?" Seeing that Naruto's expression was a little serious, Hinata said worriedly, "Did you encounter anything, Naruto-kun?" Naruto looked at Hinata, who was worthy of being his future wife. He could guess her general state from her expression. Naruto put his arms around Hinata's shoulders, looked at Hinata solemnly and said, "No matter what happens in the future, you must remember that, first, no matter how my position changes, I will not change to protect Konoha and aim to be the Hokage. Second, no matter what I do, my original intention must be for the entire ninja world. Third, and most importantly. Naruto took a deep breath and stared at Hinata. Tien said, no matter what I become, I, Uzumaki Naruto, will only love you, Hinata Hyuga, in this life. Hearing Naruto's solemn explanation, especially the last sentence, Hinata threw herself into Naruto's arms again, hugged Naruto tightly and said, Naruto-kun. Thank you for liking me so much. I, Hinata Hyuga, also love only Naruto-kun in this life. But, I hope that if Naruto-kun encounters any difficulties, he will not face them alone. At least he can take me with him, let me accompany Naruto-kun and face them together. Naruto stroked Hinata's hair, looked up at the sky, let out a sigh, and tears stayed in the corners of his eyes. This road is too dangerous. Naruto doesn't want the tragedy of his previous life to repeat itself before his eyes. I don't want to experience the body temperature of his beloved in his arms slowly disappearing again. Forgive me, Hinata. Naruto let go of Hinata, then touched her face with both hands, forehead against forehead, looked at her lovingly and said, okay, just remember my words, I won't tell you any more, I'm going to the Hokage. Oh, that's right. As he said that, Naruto rolled up Hinata's sleeves, and then left the flying thunder god mark on Hinata's arm. Hinata asked in confusion, what is this? Naruto smiled slightly. With this mark, I can appear by your side anytime and anywhere to protect you. Hinata smiled happily after hearing this. Naruto warned, remember, this is a secret between the two of us, don't tell others, I left a mark on you. Hinata nodded. Also, if you encounter any danger, try to gather chakra to this mark, I will sense it and appear by your side. Hinata looked up in surprise. Naruto-kun is so amazing, he actually has such a trick. Naruto smiled and touched Hinata's head. His wife was so gentle and obedient. Such a lovely girl, Naruto will naturally love her for the rest of his life. So Naruto specially improved his father's flying thunder god technique. Once the marker is injected into the chakra, the caster can also sense it and then go to rescue instantly. After explaining all this, Naruto turned and left. Naruto-kun. Naruto left and looked back. Hinata stood there, put her hands on her mouth, made a trumpet shape and shouted, after the Hokage, let's go to Ichiraku ramen together tonight. Looking at Hinata's silly smile, although he was a little shaken in his heart, Naruto nodded against his will. Ah, I'll come when I'm done. After Hinata got the reply, she tilted her head and smiled, well, it's settled. See you at 6 p.m. Bye. Looking at Hinata waving, Naruto smiled and raised his hand and said, bye. Then he turned around and flew away. In midair, Naruto shed 2 lines of tears while flying. Forgive me, Hinata. The two of them were waiting for the arrival of the guests. In the Hokage's office, Naruto arrived as scheduled. After opening the door, Naruto found that the target had not yet appeared. Mito Mizuin and Utane Kaharu were there, sitting quietly on the side. These two people were high-ranking Konoha staff officers. Naruto specifically asked Tsunade to invite them, with the purpose of dispelling Danzo's suspicion. With these two people, Danzo probably thought that they were really discussing something. In the office, Hokage Tsunade sat in the Hokage's office, with Sister Shizune standing behind her, and Master Jiraiya also arrived. Looking at Tsunade, Naruto asked, Tsunade-chan, where is Danzo-sama? Tsunade frowned and said, I have sent Kakashi to ask him. Naruto nodded and stopped talking. Tsunade looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, I am curious why you must have Danzo present before you tell your secret. Naruto smiled and looked at Tsunade and said, you will know in a while. Jiraiya looked at Naruto. He didn't know why, but he always felt a little uneasy in his heart. This uneasiness made him feel indescribable. Mizuto Mizuin looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade, what exactly do you want to discuss with us? Also, Nine Tails, cough cough cough. Is the secret that Naruto mentioned about Konoha's secret? Utane Kaharu also said, yes, they called us here, even Danzo, so it must be a very important secret. Naruto nodded and said, yes, it's about the secret of the 4th Hokage. Mizuto Mizuin and Utane Kaharu both said in surprise and looked at each other. Here, after Danzo got the report from his subordinate Gen, Hokage Tsunade invited Mizuto Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu to the Hokage's office, and even sent Kakashi to invite him. What is Tsunade doing? Why are they inviting these old people? Danzo may be suspicious in his heart, but since the Hokage invited him in the name of business, there is no reason for him not to go. It's probably because Jiraiya's strength was greatly reduced, and he encountered something he couldn't solve, so he thought of us old guys. Danzo smiled slightly, and when Kakashi arrived and explained his purpose, he stood up and went. As for the guards, he didn't bring any. After all, no one in the Hokage village dared to attack him, so Danzo still had this confidence. Besides, it's not good to bring a guard to the Hokage's office and be discovered by Tsunade's Anbu guards. Naruto thought of this, so Tsunade invited these three people in the name of discussing business. In name, it was to talk about the secrets of the fourth generation. In fact, it was to let Danzo relax his vigilance and appear in front of him without any guards. There was a knock on the door. Tsunade said, "Please come in." Kakashi opened the door and came in and said, "Hokage-sama, Danzo-sama is here." As he said that, Kakashi turned sideways, and Danzo walked in with a cane. At this moment, Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu both stood up. Udatane Kaharu complained, "Danzo, you are too slow. We have been waiting for you for a long time." Danzo smiled and responded, "Who knew that the Hokage would think of summoning an old guy like me? When people get old, their pace will naturally be slow." Tsunade frowned slightly. Danzo's words were full of irony. It was obviously talking about her, not paying attention to these old people, ignoring them. It seemed that he was talking about himself, but in fact, Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu formed a small group in an instant. Naruto had his back to Danzo at this moment. Suddenly, Naruto's mind moved, and the shadow clone left at home in the morning was instantly removed. Then, orange eye shadow instantly appeared in his eyes. Jiraiya was the first to notice it, because he and Naruto were the only ones who knew fairy arts. In addition to Naruto, he was the most sensitive to natural forces. Looking at the orange in the corners of Naruto's eyes, Jiraiya knew that something was going to happen. Unfortunately, it was too late. The perception ability, action speed, and attack power in the Sage mode have been greatly improved and increased. In short, the attack is fast, accurate, cruel. Naruto turned around and looked back. Danzo still had a smile on his face, his mouth was still open, and his eyes were still on Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu. Just as he came to his senses, Naruto's right hand was already in front of Danzo's right eye. "I'll take your right eye." Because he was worried that Danzo would activate Koto Amatsukami, Naruto directly turned on the Sage Perception mode. The action speed was so fast that people couldn't react. Wow! With a scream, Danzo's right eye was directly taken out by Naruto. Danzo was even completely taken out by Naruto, and he was stunned. Seeing this, Kakashi directly attacked with Reikiri and came up to punish Naruto. Naruto cut his throat and had no choice but to retreat with Flying Thunder God. With a buzz, Naruto disappeared on the spot, appeared on the roof of a building not far from the Hokage. Tsunade stood up in shock. Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu shouted at Tsunade, "Tsunade, what does this mean?" They thought that everything Naruto did was instructed by Tsunade. Tsunade broke the Hokage's office with a punch and said angrily, "Naruto, what is he trying to do?" Jiraiya was very surprised. Why did this kid do this? Danzo covered his bleeding right eye, gritted his teeth and looked at Tsunade and said, "Tsunade, are you going to deal with me?" Tsunade didn't know what to say for a moment. After all, it was Naruto who asked her to invite these people over. "I say, Danzo, Tsunade wants to deal with you, so why do you need to come over?" Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw Naruto standing there, holding the eye he had just dug out, and his right hand was stained red with blood. Kakashi was the first to break through the Hokage window and jump out, followed by Jiraiya. The Anbu guards guarding the Hokage building have all been dispatched and surrounded Naruto. Tsunade also jumped out. Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu also came over and helped Danzo up. Shizune came over and frowned, saying, "Danzo, let me stop the bleeding for you first." Danzo covered his right eye, let go of Shizune's hand, and jumped out angrily. That was his right eye. Uchiha Shisui's eyes. He was being held captive like this, and he still had the mind to stop the bleeding. Stop it. Danzo opened his hand that was covering his eyes, pointed at Naruto, and looked at Tsunade with his only good eye and said, Tsunade, if you don't give me an explanation today, I will never let you go. The head of Tsunade is very big now. Looking at Danzo in front of her, countless anger shot out from her only left eye, and the right eye that was taken away was a bloody hole. Tsunade didn't think about how to explain to him. She just didn't understand what Naruto was doing now. Didn't you say you were going to tell the secret of the fourth generation? Why did you take away Danzo's right eye? And, Naruto, how dare you? In the Hokage's office, in front of himself and the Hokage's senior officials, he just took away Danzo's right eye. What's the difference between this and betraying Konoha? Tsunade couldn't understand it. How could a guy who had always aimed to be the Hokage do this? But now it was happening right in front of her. Tsunade didn't understand. Jiraiya and Kakashi didn't understand either. Danzo didn't understand even more. Before coming here, if anyone dared to tell Danzo that Naruto was going to knock out your eyes in the Hokage's office, Danzo would definitely think that person was crazy. Because, even if he put himself in someone else's shoes, he felt that he couldn't do this. Back then, when he knocked out Shisui's eyes, he took a group of younger brothers with him, found a very hidden place, and even prepared to kill people after knocking out their eyes, and then acted. After all, Danzo also wanted to continue to stay in Konoha. He was not like Naruto, who just flipped the table. It was precisely because of this that Naruto took advantage of this point, letting Danzo put down all his guard, and suddenly attacked, sneak attack. That's how he succeeded. Naruto looked at Danzo and snorted coldly, saying, Danzo, how do you feel? When you took out Uchiha Shisui's eyes, did you ever think of today? When Naruto said this, those who were about to attack Naruto stopped what they were doing and looked at Danzo. Especially Kakashi, he looked at Naruto and said, Naruto. You mean, that right eye is Uchiha Shisui's eye? Naruto nodded and said, that's true, otherwise why would I take so much effort to take it out? As he said that, Naruto took out a small bottle of liquid culture and put the eyeball in it. Shizune looked at the bottle in Naruto's hand with a narrowed eye. This is it. Not long ago, Naruto asked me for it, and even the liquid inside was prepared by me. At that time, Naruto also said that he wanted to cultivate the summoning beast frog tadpole. So, let Shizune get him the life culture liquid. It turned out that Naruto was ready to do so at that time. Danzo looked at his precious eyeball, which was taken away by Naruto, and said angrily, that was given to me by Shisui, don't slander me. Then, he looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade, if you don't deal with Naruto today, I will use the root to deal with him. Naruto put the culture bottle away and sneered, don't worry, Danzo-sama. Buzz. Naruto disappeared from the spot and appeared behind Danzo. I also took your right hand. Danzo looked back in horror, but unfortunately, when he tilted his head, he only saw a flash of cold light. Then, there was another buzz, and Naruto reappeared in the previous position. It turned out that when he just took the eyeball, Naruto took the opportunity to mark Danzo with Flying Thunder God, because Naruto was worried that there would be others to stop him and he could not complete the second harvest action. So, let all these people outside, and everyone's attention is on him. Danzo turned out last and fell to the end, so it's best to act. Kakashi was so shocked that he couldn't speak when he saw Naruto's movements. Classic Flying Thunder God second stage. This was the most classic and best performing fighting style of his master, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Everyone looked at Danzo in shock. At this moment, Danzo was in a terrible state. His only left hand was covering the broken part of his right arm, and blood was flowing. His right eye was a bloody hole. His only left eye was not angry, but fearful at this moment. Seeing this, Kakashi came to Danzo's side to protect him instantly. Shizune came over directly and treated Danzo directly. The Hokage's Anbu guards also came to Tsunade to protect her. Mito Mizuin and Udatane Kaharu were watching in the Hokage's office. They were almost scared to death and quickly stepped back, fearing that Naruto would come. Jiraiya looked at Naruto and shouted angrily, Naruto, do you know what you are doing? Naruto acted as if he didn't hear anything and directly tore off the bandage on Danzo's right arm. An arm of Hashirama's cells with a metal seal appeared in front of everyone. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and said, "The skin color of that arm is the color of my grandfather's Hashirama cells transplanted into it." Jiraiya also looked at Danzo's right arm in Naruto's hand. The metal on the arm was a seal. What was in Danzo's right arm that required such a seal and suppression? Naruto looked at Danzo and thought, Danzo-sama, it must be very difficult to suppress so many Sharingan transplanted on your right arm. Look how good I am. I have relieved your troubles today. Danzo raised his head with difficulty. He looked at Naruto, trembling all over because of excessive blood loss, and said, "You, who are you?" At this point, Danzo began to doubt Naruto's identity. Jiraiya looked at Naruto and said seriously, "Naruto, do you know what your behavior today means?" Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled, "I know, but I have to do this." Jiraiya frowned. He was scared. Nagato has already gone astray. He has only one disciple, the son of prophecy. Why does it seem that he is also going astray now? Tsunade said. Naruto, return Danzo's hand and right eye to him. There is still room for negotiation on this matter. Danzo said viciously. No. I want him to die. Naruto waved his hands helplessly and said, Tsunade-san, look, I am helpless too. Then, Naruto looked at Danzo and said, Danzo, don't die. I won't take your life. I will leave it to Sasuke to take it. Your hands are stained with the blood of the Uchiha clan. Dying in Sasuke's hands can untie his knot. After that, Naruto turned around and was about to escape with Flying Thunder God. Jiraiya shouted in time, wait Naruto. Tell the teacher, are you doing this to avenge Sasuke's Uchiha clan? Also, where are you going next? Naruto looked at Jiraiya and said, Teacher, I did this without any hatred, it's just that Danzo has what I need, Shisui's eyes, the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, that's all. As for where to go, don't worry about it, teacher. Next, I have my own plan. I believe that soon, the teacher will hear my name. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and gritted his teeth and said, So, you are planning to defect from Konoha? Naruto said expressionlessly. No matter how Konoha treats me, I am still the Uzumaki Naruto. Jiraiya's heart was bleeding. Naruto actually planned to defect from Konoha. Why? Isn't Naruto the real child of prophecy? Why did he go against him? Tsunade looked at Naruto and shouted angrily, Naruto, do you know what you are talking about? Kakashi also looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, what's wrong with you? It's only been a few days and you have become like this. Naruto was silent. These people who asked questions are all people he cherishes very much, but he can't do anything about it. He looked at everyone and said, I'm sorry, everyone. I know that if I tell you, you may find it incredible, so I choose to keep it secret because this matter itself sounds incredible. Even if you gain the trust of some people, it doesn't mean much, because before that day really comes, the pressure you face is not something that ordinary people can bear. Instead of a group of people fighting meaninglessly, it's better for me to bear it alone, and the possibility of success is greater. Jiraiya looked at Naruto, as if he wanted to see through his apprentice. These days, from seeing Naruto in the Hidden Rain village, to Naruto often looking at him affectionately, treating him to ice cream, and asking him for the Nine Tails key. Even now, taking Danzo's right eye and right arm. Think of all these. Senjutsu, Flying Thunder God, the Nine Tails power that may appear soon, the strongest illusion Shisui's eyes, and the Sharingan that may be on Danzo's arm. It's obvious that Naruto is consciously collecting power. Jiraiya quickly looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, what kind of enemy are you going to deal with? You are collecting power so frantically. Looking into the teacher's eyes, Naruto's heart was even moved. He is indeed his mentor, a father-like figure, who actually saw a little trick. Naruto smiled and said, Teacher, I said, it is meaningless to say this matter out. Please believe me, I, Uzumaki Naruto, am still the boy before, and my original intention remains unchanged. However, if I don't do this, tragedies like the Uchiha clan may happen again. Tsunade shouted, the Uchiha clan has historical problems, and there is nothing we can do about it. Naruto shook his head and said, Although I respect the third Hokage very much, I have reviewed the tragedy of the Uchiha clan. In the final analysis, it is still the political failure of the third Hokage. If he hadn't let it go and didn't take any substantial measures, allowing Danzo and his men to act recklessly, and the political coercion of the two corrupt advisors, Mito Mizuin and Udatain Kaharu, the ambitions of the Uchiha clan would not have found soil. Danzo spat out a mouthful of blood and said, "What do you know, kid? Do you know what a village is, what a Hokage is?" Naruto snorted and smiled coldly. "Hokage, it's not like I haven't been one before." At this moment, Naruto's entire temperament changed, making those who were familiar with him feel very unfamiliar. Naruto looked at Danzo and continued to say calmly, "The Uchiha clan, as a major clan in Konoha and a clan of eye techniques that is on par with the Hyuga clan, has not only been distrusted since the second generation but has not even been given a high-level advisor. When it came to the third generation, they were monitored everywhere, and were even squeezed out to the outskirts of the village for a time, and even had spies inserted into the home of the head of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Itachi is a product of dark politics, a complete victim. Whether it is the Uchiha clan, or Orochimaru, the third-generation grandfather, did he really do anything substantial? Enough! Tsunade and Jiraiya shouted at the same time. Naruto is getting more and more outrageous and bold. After the third generation finished speaking, he traced back to the second generation. This is indirectly denying the efforts of the two generations of leaders. Jiraiya looked at Naruto and said seriously, "Naruto, teacher, let me ask you one more question. If you insist on doing this and go against the teacher will stop you. Do you want to learn from Nagato and kill the teacher too?" Naruto looked at Jiraiya and smiled bitterly. "Teacher, I'm sorry, don't worry, we will never be opposites. I'm not Nagato, you are the most important person in my life." "Then what are you doing now? You have already begun to deny the Hokage and the will of fire. Isn't this going against me, the teacher?" Before Naruto could wait for Jiraiya to speak, he said, "I'm sorry, don't worry, we will never be opposites. I'm not Nagato, you are the most important person in my life." "Then what are you doing now? You have already begun to deny the Hokage and the will of fire. Isn't this going against me, the teacher?" After that, Jiraiya shouted angrily. Naruto had a blank expression on his face, and sighed. "The will of fire, no, I haven't given up, but now I understand the will that is more important than the will of fire." Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and asked, "What is it?" Naruto said, "The will of God." Jiraiya shouted angrily, "Naruto, you have fallen." Naruto raised his hand and gestured. "Teacher, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the pain created by Nagato, he is at most a false god. I'm talking about the god who truly possesses supreme power and is above all living beings, the god who can ignore the cause and effect of the 6 reincarnations and cut off everything. Under the will of God, if you are not strong, he will destroy you, just like we step on an ant to death, there is no feeling at all, not even a sense of guilt. This is a terrible thing." At this point, Naruto was silent. Tsunade waved her hand and said, "Naruto, what you said is too unrealistic. Just surrender and I will consider giving you a lighter punishment." Naruto snorted coldly. "If you are on different paths, you cannot make plans together. It is too early to explain now." With a buzzing sound, Naruto escaped with Flying Thunder God. Danzo looked at his right eye and right arm, which completely disappeared from his sight. The plan he had made for more than 10 years was gone. He was so angry that he vomited blood and fainted. The rain was so strong that it was hard to get out of the rain. The Hidden Rain Village. Naruto used Flying Thunder God and came directly here, the place where Jiraiya was rescued. After sealing Danzo's right arm with the seal scroll, Naruto walked towards the depths of the Hidden Rain Village. The rain from the sky also fell on Naruto. Somewhere in the Hidden Rain Village, Nagato suddenly opened his eyes. Konan tilted her head and asked, "What's wrong?" Nagato said, "There are intruders blocking my rain, and the location where they appeared is very close to us. This chakra is very strong." Konan wondered, could it be that Jiraiya-sensei is back again? Nagato shook his head and said, "I'm familiar with Jiraiya-sensei's chakra. It doesn't feel like this. It should be someone else." "Konan, thank you for your hard work. It's the same as last time." Konan nodded and signaled Nagato, "I understand." As he spoke, Nagato fired chakra, and the Tendo Pain outside moved, came to the high tower outside, and began to make seals. Rain Tiger Free Technique. Release. Here, Konan launched the Shiki paper dance again, and her body transformed into countless pieces of paper, then folded into a butterfly and flew out from the high platform. Naruto looked up at the sky and found that the rain had stopped. It seemed that he had discovered him, so he had to speed up. Naruto jumped up, found a secluded place, made seals, separated 3 shadow clones, and then condensed the fairy chakra. Because the distance between Konoha and the Hidden Rain village is very far, even Jiraiya took 3 or 4 days to get here, and he used toads and traveled by water. As a space-time ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God is fast, but the chakra consumed at a long distance is also huge. As soon as Naruto landed, his senjutsu chakra was gone. Therefore, when Nagato's rain fell on Naruto, what he sensed was Naruto's own chakra, not the senjutsu chakra from the last fight. In addition, when Naruto came here last time, the Rain Tiger free art had been stopped because of teacher Jiraiya, so Naruto's body was not drenched. Therefore, Nagato didn't notice it at the first time, and it was Naruto who came back. In the integrated water pipe building, Naruto was sitting there. The senjutsu chakra was fully accumulated in a short while, and the sage mode was turned on again. Naruto's perception range was spread out in an instant. Just then, a paper butterfly was flying leisurely over. Naruto smiled slightly, walked over directly, and caught the flying butterfly. No need to look for it, senior sister, it's me. The origami around them quickly gathered together and formed a human figure. Then, a woman wearing a fire cloud robe appeared, but in origami form. Who are you? Konoha's 9 Tails Jinchuriki, Naruto. Naruto couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, Senior sister, is that how you call me? Konan said expressionlessly, that's how you are shown in Akatsuki's information. Naruto shook his head helplessly. That's right. At this time, Nagato and Konan didn't care about killing Jiraiya, and they still agreed with you. Isn't this nonsense? What are you doing here? Naruto looked at Konan and replied, I'm here to meet my senior brother Nagato. After all, I said last time I left that I would come to see him again when I'm free. 2 pairs of wings slowly appeared behind Konan, and then floated up high. She looked at Naruto and said, there is no so-called senior brother Nagato here. You've come to the wrong place. Also, you are good at crossing the territory of God, and you deserve to be killed. As she said that, the 2 pairs of wings shot out countless pieces of paper like 2 Gatling guns, attacking Naruto. Naruto in Sage mode, Naruto dodged this kind of attack directly. Unexpectedly, Konan really chased Naruto and shot as if he was holding 2 machine guns. Naruto kept running on the wall, and Konan kept chasing and shooting. Is that all you can do? Naruto said with a snort, I just don't like hitting women. After saying that, he inserted a kunai on the spot, and then shot another kunai quickly, close to Konan, and then jumped over with the Flying Thunder God to catch the kunai. Senjutsu. Big Ball Rasengan. Looking back, he threw it directly at Konan's face. Konan's paper dance shooting continued, but the Big Ball Rasengan, a high-speed rotating wind escape, cut the continuous paper pieces into paper foam, and as Naruto exerted force, it kept approaching Konan's paper body. If this continues, Konan's paper body will become paper foam. A red robe with a fire cloud suddenly appeared behind Konan, and then stretched out a hand. Shinra Tensai. The powerful repulsive force appeared instantly, directly turning Naruto's. The attack bounced off, and Naruto flew to Thunder God again, escaping the rebound and returning to the kunai mark left by the previous attack. Konan looked at Pain and said, sorry, his strength is stronger than mine. Pain nodded and said, you leave first, and leave the rest to me. After that, Konan left the battlefield again, and then Tendo Pain slowly floated up and came to Naruto. Naruto looked at Tendo Pain floating up and showed envy. Samsara Eye is really a good thing. In the previous life, I could fly only after obtaining the power of the 6 paths and mastering the Seeking the Way Jade. In today's world, only the Wind Shadow Gaara can use sand as a flying cushion, or like the Tsuchikage Onoki Grandpa, use the technique to control the weight of his body to achieve flight. The power of the 6 paths cannot be obtained for the time being, and Naruto doesn't like the way of Gaara and the Tsuchikage, and the Samsara Eye is still practical. Thinking of this, Naruto's purpose is clearer. Looking at Pain in front of him, Naruto smiled and said, "Brother, let's meet and talk." The sky was full of smoke, and the sky was full of stars. Tien Pain stood in the air, his face expressionless. "You are not qualified to talk to God." Tien Pain finished speaking. Swish swish swish. 5 pains wearing fire cloud robes all appeared and surrounded Naruto. Naruto looked around. They were all old acquaintances in his memory. This wave was the group of pains that attacked Konoha and fought against Naruto. "I was planning to hunt you in Konoha village, but I didn't expect you to fall into my trap. Then, I'll take 9 tails." After saying that, Tendo Pain stretched out his hand. 10,000 things attract the sky. Naruto's body shook for a while, and then he was sucked towards Pain. 4 Tendo Pains jumped up directly, revealing their black sticks. This is to stab Naruto to death in midair. Naruto made seals with both hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. In an instant, 3 Naruto clones appeared. 1 shadow clone pulled the original Naruto's hands and swung them, and then the original's feet, using the power of the other 2 shadow clones Naruto's bodies, stepped out, and the original body took the shape of a bow and shot directly downwards. Because in the air, Tendo Pain can only suck one side, and there are 4 pains attacking from above, so Naruto has to retreat to the bottom. As a result, as soon as the original body landed below, it was tied up by an invisible thing. Naruto frowned, because the feeling of wetness disturbed his whole body. Looking closely, the short-haired female animal Path Pain was keeping the hand seal. It was that disgusting chameleon. Tisk. The 3 shadow clones in the air each entangled a pain, and the last pain took the black stick and directly inserted it. The chameleon's flying tongue tightened quickly. Naruto sneered and flew away with Thunder God, and Pain inserted it into the air. Returning to the kunai marked at the beginning, Tendo Pain narrowed his eyes slightly, as if he had expected it, and directly came over at a close distance, and the black stick on the cuffs directly stabbed towards Naruto. At this distance, I can't dodge it. Tendo Pain thought so, but he didn't expect that Naruto didn't want to leave at all. Frog group hands were performed, holding the black stick inserted by Tendo Pain with his right hand, and blocking the attack of Tendo Pain's other hand with his left hand. Naruto looked at Tendo Pain, smiled slightly, and then exerted force with his right hand. With a thump, Naruto broke the black stick directly. Then, Naruto flew up with his left foot. Seeing this, Pain crossed his hands to block, and with a bang, he kicked 6 paths Pain out directly. The flying Tendo Pain got up, and the other 5 pains came to him and stood in their respective positions. Naruto sneered and said, although Tendo is strong, he has a 5-second interval between techniques, and his close combat and defense are not satisfactory. Tendo Pain looked at Naruto without denying. Then, Naruto turned his eyes to the other pains and continued, the hungry ghost path is responsible for resisting injuries and absorbing chakra, the animal path is responsible for spiritual communication and summoning. The one who attacked me just now was the invisible chameleon, right? The human path is responsible for harassment and intelligence collection, and is good at extracting other people's souls and reading memories. The hell path can judge the truth and falsehood of language and reincarnate. As for this person, if I guess correctly, it should be the Shira path that I spun into the sea and could not be resurrected. It's a modified bomb weapon. Listening to Naruto's easy way of talking about the various intelligence attributes of the 6 paths of pain, the heavenly path Pain said, sure enough, Jiraiya has obtained the key information of pain and told you, but it doesn't matter. In the face of absolute strength, everything is in vain. Naruto sneered and said, I'm here, but I don't have the leisure to fight with you. Forget it, let's find your body first and talk to you in person. After that, Naruto directly inserted the black stick he had just captured into one of his shoulders. The black stick can receive the chakra emitted by the original Nagato. Just like in his previous life, Naruto directly used the perception of the Sage mode to conduct reverse exploration and search for Nagato's location. As expected, he found it. Naruto looked at the tower in the distance and said, where is it? Deep in the tower, the dilapidated Nagato suddenly raised his head and froze, because in the darkness, he saw a pair of orange eyes. This is him receiving Naruto's chakra. This guy, he actually used the Sage mode to conduct a reverse search. Naruto snorted coldly, threw away the black stick, and then formed seals with his hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. In an instant, Naruto directly cloned 1,000 Naruto shadows. Clone. Nagato was stunned through Pain's perspective. This guy, with so much chakra, really deserves to be the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Stop them. Naruto gave an order, and 1,000 clones surrounded and beat him. Nagato was very troubled. Of course, he knew Naruto's purpose. He wanted to trap 6 Pains, and his original body came alone. Tendo Pain took the lead and leapt up and said, "You are too naive." Shinra Tensei. The infinite repulsive force unfolded, and the dozen or so Narutos who surrounded him were destroyed in an instant. But unfortunately, it takes 5 seconds for his technique to be activated again. The other 5 paths showed their magical powers. But unfortunately, they couldn't deal with such a number of Naruto's shadow clones within a minute. Especially Naruto under the blessing of Senjutsu and Flying Thunder God. Naruto used the kunai he projected to mark several locations, and directly flashed back and forth with Flying Thunder God. In the tower, Nagato sighed and said, "Konan, come back and stay by my side." Konan stayed by Nagato's side and was on guard. Naruto jumped onto the tower and saw a square entrance. Naruto walked in and found it very dark inside. He looked around and saw that the building materials were mostly steel. However, the ground he was walking on was made of stone. The overall tone was cold and gave people a sense of oppression. After walking for more than 100 steps, he finally saw a large square in front of Naruto, which was about the size of a basketball court. All around were steel pipes of the same size standing up, densely arranged, presumably to facilitate the dredging of water. If you think about it carefully, because of the rain, the entire Hidden Rain village is built in this style. In the center, Nagato was on a machine with his limbs embedded in it. There were more than a dozen black sticks stuck in his back, and he looked skinny. The eyes of the Rinnegan stared at Naruto and said weakly, "Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about? Since we can't stop him, let's meet and talk." Nagato actually wanted to know what Naruto wanted to talk to him about. After all, he were both Jiraiya's apprentices. For the master, he might not be so interested, but for the junior brother, it's another story. Naruto looked at Nagato and said, "Brother, Naruto, don't beat around the bush. I came here this time mainly to talk to you about the matter of recruiting Akatsuki." Nagato stared at Naruto, and for a moment, he wondered if he had heard it wrong. Konan stepped forward, looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto, are you crazy? Do you know what you are saying?" Naruto sighed and said, "I know you can't accept it for a while. To tell you the truth, I guess I have been identified as a defecting ninja by Konoha, although I don't think so myself." Konan was shocked and said, "You defected from Konoha?" Naruto nodded. Nagato looked at Naruto and said, "You should have come to me to beg me to take you in, not your arrogant offer to recruit Akatsuki. You are insulting God." Naruto raised his hand and looked at Nagato and said, "Brother, let me be honest. I might have talked you down before, but now I really want to tell you that what you gave up is still very precious. What you are doing now is really ridiculous. Why? Because you have been played around by one person and are doing things for others. If you really control the overall situation, then there is no doubt that your thinking is correct. Collecting the 9-tailed beasts to control the war and balance the peace of the entire ninja world can indeed be called a god. After all, you still have god consciousness. In this regard, you are better than the cages of the 5 major ninja countries." Hearing Naruto agree and understand himself, Nagato was a little unsure of Naruto for a while. Nagato said, "Oh," and looked at Naruto and said, "Do you understand why I do this?" Naruto nodded and said, "Of course. It is true that only by feeling pain first can we understand pain, and then fear pain and cherish peace." Nagato frowned and looked at Naruto, as if he wanted to see through him. A few seconds later, Nagato said, "Naruto, you are better than Jiraiya, at least in feeling pain." Naruto then said, "But, brother, the pain you created now is at most a false god. The real will of God is not what you understand. You are at most a ninja god." Nagato looked at Naruto and said, "So what do you mean, have you seen a real god?" Naruto calculated the time, well, about the same. Yes, the real gods are the Otsutsuki clan who are so powerful that they regard life as worthless and call us humans, straw dogs. Under such gods, the pain you created is not strong enough to compete with them." After saying that, Naruto pulled open the scroll and released the crow directly, smiling. Come, let me lead you to create a real power that is on par with God. Ga, ga, ga. After a few crow calls, Shisui's Koto Amatsukami was activated instantly, and Nagato and Konan saw the eye of the crow with their own eyes. Naruto's leisurely voice came. Always obey my orders, follow my arrangements, follow me, I will lead you to find the road to light. Unconsciously, Nagato murmured, Junior brother, what you said makes sense, I will listen to you in the future. Konan also said with a smile, if it is junior brother Naruto, these requirements are no problem. Naruto smiled slightly, as expected. Shisui's strongest illusion, Koto Amatsukami, is not a visual illusion. Otherwise, it would be impossible to change your mind without knowing it. Moreover, this samsara eye is not Nagato's own, but was transplanted to Nagato by Uchiha Madara. Nagato can use it because he is a member of the Uzumaki clan, with powerful chakra and vitality. Therefore, Nagato's samsara eye cannot absorb and offset the Koto Amatsukami emitted by Shisui's strongest illusion eye. Consciousness was still changed by Naruto. Naruto waited so long just to accumulate chakra, just in case the seal was useless to Nagato, he would use force. Even the way to open the sealed door of the Nine Tails with the key was prepared. After all, Nagato's samsara eye and the Akatsuki organization, he was determined to get it. Fortunately, there was no danger, Nagato and Konan were taken under his command. Naruto came. Xiaonan said beside him, Senior sister, please get me a set of clothes too. Xiaonan nodded and said, okay, junior brother, wait a moment. Then, Naruto looked at Nagato and said, Senior brother, how does Uchiha Madara usually appear here? After being completely brainwashed by Naruto's Koto Amatsukami, Nagato completely regarded Naruto as his own and leader. He said, Madara has an eye that can mark the coordinates of time and space. He usually appears in a certain place out of thin air, similar to your flying thunder god. Naruto nodded, and he knew the ability of Obito's eyes. However, his future destination may be this rain-hidden village, so he can't let Obito come here casually again. Naruto, here, I took it according to your size. Naruto took it from Sister Xiaonan, thanked her, and then put on the black and red cloud robe. I never thought that one day I would wear it. Naruto himself sighed at the wonder of fate. At this time, Nagato summoned all 6 pains to his presence, looked at Naruto and said, Junior brother, you said you would lead us to find the path of light, so what should we do next? After putting on the special robes of the Akatsuki organization, Naruto's temperament turned into a dark tone. First of all, Akatsuki has become a thing of the past. From today on, we will officially change our name to Tien. Konan whispered. Tien. Nagato murmured. Tien, is that the will of God? Naruto nodded and said, only one thing is right. Tien is an organization, and you and I in the organization are all gods. The consciousness of each of us is the consciousness of God, and together, it is Tien. It is the rules and order of this world. Konan and Nagato's eyes glowed. Naruto hid in the robe and said in a low voice, similarly, as Tien, it is also necessary to shield the sentient beings of this world from wind and rain in advance. As he said, Naruto threw his robe and strode out. Tien's first action, begin. The first action of the day. In order to make his own power stronger, Naruto's trip was mainly to revive a person. The man who will never die. Even during Naruto's reign, Orochimaru, Ant Snake, this eternal man, is still pursuing the truth and contributing to Konoha. After all, Naruto gave him the title of Konoha's chief scientist to facilitate his research, but he had to accept Konoha's supervision and could no longer be as perverted as before. In the Hidden Rain Village, Naruto has made time and space marks and left a shadow clone for defense. After all, the Rain Tiger free art is always there. If someone invades, he can fly back directly with the Thunder God. Because Nagato used the black stick to launch chakra, and he had difficulty walking and had to stay on the huge launcher, Naruto directly marked Flying Thunder God on the launcher and flew with Nagato. Naruto took Nagato and flew directly to a place in the Land of Fire, more than 30 kilometers away from Konoha village. This place was the time and space mark point he made in advance when he left Konoha village. Here, the defense perception power of Konoha village could not detect it. According to the memory of his previous life, Naruto learned that Mitarashi Red Bean should be performing a mission somewhere now, and as for the location, Naruto could probably guess it. So, Naruto turned on the Sage Mode again, and then asked Nagato to summon the big green bird. Then, Naruto summoned the Shadow Clone, fixed the launch platform where Nagato was staying on the big bird, and then took it to the sky and headed to the destination. Naruto himself sat on the head of the bird, turned on the Sage Perception Mode, and performed a large-scale perception. Somewhere in the Land of Fire, Mitarashi Anko is leading Captain Yamato and Sai, and the three of them are looking for Orochimaru's whereabouts. Looking at the map in front of him, Sai said, I have used the Super Beast fake painting to detect these places, and they are basically empty. Yamato looked at the remaining bases and sighed. It is said that a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. I think this Orochimaru is the real master of setting doubts. Mitarashi Anko interrupted. No. Not really. She looked at the bases marked on the map and frowned and said, You have not contacted him, you will not understand, this man, purely for the convenience of research, so he left so many bases and research institutes, even if one is destroyed, there will be other research institutes to preserve his research results. Sigh. There are such people. Yamato. What kind of strange man is this? Mitarashi Anko looked at Captain Yamato and Sai and said, For him, finding his so-called truth is more important than anything else. Of course, he is not so easy to die. Speaking of this, Mitarashi Anko couldn't help but touch the curse mark on her neck. That man left him too much harm. As he was recalling, suddenly, Mitarashi Anko's extraordinary perception ability discovered the problem. Captain Yamato hurriedly asked, What's wrong? Mitarashi Anko frowned and said, Someone is moving quickly in our direction, very fast. And, it seems that they are not on the ground, They fell down and stopped in front. Here, when Naruto in Sage Mode flew to this location in a big bird, he had already discovered Mitarashi Anko, so he attacked this side directly. Then he fell directly from a few thousand meters away from Mitarashi Anko. Konan looked at Naruto and said, It seems to be someone from Konoha. Naruto, do you want to go and say hello? Naruto shook his head and said, If we can successfully save the ninja world, there will be plenty of time to reminisce in the future. Brother Nagato, fire at full power and cooperate with me, I want to capture them alive. Nagato whispered, Naruto-kun, leave these people to me, you don't have to show up for the time being. As soon as the voice fell, at this time, several lions rushed over from the bushes. Nagato frowned. He had just said that he would come in front of Brother Naruto, and the enemy took action in advance. It was too disrespectful to him, the 6 paths. The next second, the 6 paths pain attacked in full force. A few lions were solved in a few strokes. Naruto nodded. Sure enough, after having a thug, he didn't have to do it himself. It seems that it was Sai's technique, which should be mainly for testing. Nagato's mind moved, and all the 6 paths pain pressed over. Here, Captain Yamato, Sai, and Mitarashi Anko finally saw who was coming. It's Akatsuki. Why did they appear? Here, Tendo Pain went straight forward, without even saying hello, and aimed at Mitarashi Anko with a move, 10,000 Things Sky Attraction. He wanted to suck her over. Mitarashi Anko was no pushover, and seeing that she was about to be sucked over, she simply took advantage of the situation. Hiding Shadow Multi-Snake Hand. A multi-headed snake suddenly appeared under Anko's sleeves, opened its bloody mouth, and went towards Tendo Pain, trying to use this to directly do an old tree root to entangle Tendo Pain. Tendo Pain said disdainfully, Naive. Hungry ghost path. Mitarashi Anko was shocked. What was going on? This fat Pain who suddenly appeared blocked in front of Tendo, and with his hands open, how could his hiding shadow multi-snake hand be absorbed? So that's it, this Pain's move should be to absorb chakra. Captain Red Bean. Yamato shouted urgently, then used wood release, and turned his hands into multiple wooden sticks, stretched them out quickly, wrapped around Red Bean, and pulled her back, otherwise Red Bean would be sucked over by the opposite side. After Yamato pulled Red Bean back, he immediately looked at Sai. Sai immediately used Super Beast fake painting to draw a lot of lions. Nagato looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto-kun, as long as you catch them alive, it's fine, as for the damage, it's okay. Naruto sat on the bird's head, crossed his arms, looked ahead and said, It's okay, as long as no one dies. Nagato nodded and said, okay. Then, Shira Path Pain saw this and directly pulled his arms open, firing countless missiles. Beast Path Pain summoned a chameleon. Boom boom boom. After a round of bombing, all of Sai's lions were directly blown into ink, and the three people were dodging bombs and separated. At this moment, Mitarashi Anko, who was staying on a big tree, looked at Akatsuki in front of her and felt a strong sense of uneasiness in her heart. She even suspected that Orochimaru had discovered them and wanted to use Akatsuki's hand to eliminate the three of them. What should I do? Just thinking about it, Anko suddenly became alert, but it was too late. An invisible rope wrapped around Anko. Because her face was also strangled, Anko noticed that the rope was wet. Just as she was about to burst out her chakra to break free, who would have thought that the invisible rope suddenly tightened, and the hand that was directly wrapped around Anko could not make a seal. The chameleon also appeared, and Anko realized that what was wrapped around her was actually the tongue of a chameleon. Just as she was thinking about the next step, Hungry Ghost Path Pain arrived in an instant. He hugged her directly and absorbed Anko's chakra, preventing her from launching any technique. Captain Yamato and Sai saw this and rushed to rescue her. Tendo Pain flew up and slapped him. Shinra Tensai. The powerful repulsive force directly sent Sai and Captain Yamato flying. Here, the chameleon rolled up its tongue and swallowed Red Bean and Hungry Ghost Pain into its mouth, then directly retreated in stealth. Nagato looked at Naruto and said, "Brother, the capture is complete." The two of them were caught alive. Naruto nodded. Akatsuki is still professional. After all, they have done this more than once or twice. They have caught 6 or 7 tailed beasts. What's more, it's just a little Jonin, Mitarashi Anko. If Naruto hadn't said that he wanted to catch the tailed beast alive, Nagato would have solved the battle in 1 second according to the way of catching the tailed beast. Chameleon came to Naruto and spit out Mitarashi Anko. At this moment, she was already in a coma and her whole body was wet. Hungry Ghost Path Pain got off her and had almost sucked out Anko's chakra, leaving her with only a little life-saving chakra. Naruto gestured to Konan, "Sister, I'm in trouble." Konan understood, divided out countless papers, wrapped Mitarashi Red Bean, and took it away. Here, Captain Yamato and Sai recovered and chased again. Nagato frowned, and Naruto raised his hand and said, "I'll go, they will know sooner or later." So, when Sai's super beast fake painting and Yamato's would escape came over, Naruto directly cloned, and then 2 Rasengan appeared. The high-speed rotating broken wood escape debris and black ink flew on Yamato's shocked face and Sai's unbelievable expression. Naruto, why is he here? After the fight, Captain Yamato and Sai stood together, and Naruto landed opposite them. Captain Yamato looked at Naruto wearing Akatsuki's clothes, and after repeatedly confirming that there was no mistake in the attributes of the chakra, he looked at Naruto in disbelief and asked, "Naruto, you look like this, have you joined Akatsuki?" Naruto shook his head. Captain Yamato breathed a sigh of relief. "That's right, how could Naruto betray Konoha? Correction, I didn't join the Akatsuki organization. I am now in the Tien organization, and I am the only founder of Tien." Naruto's words instantly made Captain Yamato's relaxed state disappear. Sai looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto-kun, you are going to become Hokage, why did you choose to betray Konoha?" Naruto spread his hands and said very depressedly, "When did I say I was going to betray Konoha?" Sai frowned and said, "Your current clothes and your behavior are telling us that you have joined the Akatsuki organization." Naruto said depressedly, "It's Tien, I repeat, it's Tien." Captain Yamato shouted anxiously, "Naruto, tell me, are you controlled by illusion?" Captain Yamato has had contact with Naruto. Whoever dares to say that Naruto betrayed Konoha, Yamato thinks that person is definitely not smart. Naruto's Hokage spirit is so strong. But now, Naruto, wearing Akatsuki's clothes, gave Yamato a stronger impact than Orochimaru. Therefore, Yamato felt that Naruto must have been controlled by Akatsuki's illusion. Naruto shook his head and explained, Captain Yamato, I think it is necessary to explain to you that I am not controlled by illusions, and I have not joined any Akatsuki organization. My organization is called Tien, remember it, don't report it to me as Akatsuki when you go back to report. As for these peens you saw, I have successfully recruited them. They will be members of Tien in the future. Don't call them Akatsuki in the future. Sai looked at Naruto, a man who was very unfamiliar to him at the moment, and asked, Naruto-kun, what is Ten-kun? Naruto looked at Sai, a former member of Team 7, and smiled and said, Ten-kun is an organization that protects the future of the ninja world. If you are interested, Sai, you are welcome to join. Captain Yamato looked at Sai and yelled, Sai. Sai apologized. Sorry, I just asked Naruto-kun. Captain Yamato did not pursue it. Sai was a member of the route, and he understood the strict system of the route. Naruto, I don't care what you say now, please release Captain Red Bean immediately, otherwise, I will let Konoha arrest you. Naruto smiled and said, Don't worry, I will personally send Senior Red Bean back to Konoha after I'm done. Captain Yamato, don't worry, I just need Senior Red Bean's help. Okay, it's getting late, I won't reminisce with you two. When we are settled in the future, there will be plenty of time to talk. After Naruto finished speaking, he signaled Konan directly. Konan took Red Bean, and Nagato controlled the big bird to take off directly. Sai, Captain Yamato, see you later. After speaking, Naruto flew directly to the Thunder God and returned to the big bird in the sky. Sai looked at Captain Yamato and said, Do you want me to use the fake painting of the super beast to follow up? Quote. Captain Yamato gritted his teeth and said, No need, it's obvious that the opponent didn't kill us because of Naruto, otherwise with the lineup just now, we might. 6 pains, such a powerful lineup is obviously a lineup to capture the tailed beasts. But the opponent seemed to be only interested in Captain Red Bean, and had his own attack on Sai. After resolving it, he did not make any deeper attacks. Yamato felt that the matter was too complicated, and there was no way, so he could only go back to Konoha village and report to the Hokage. The big bird was sitting on top of the tree. Naruto sat on the bird's head. After a long while, Naruto smacked his lips, looked at his clothes again, and showed a very inappropriate look on his face. Konan approached and asked, What's wrong, junior brother, are you uncomfortable sitting on the bird's head? Nagato said, Why don't you sit behind me? My launcher can block the wind, and there will be no wind sound behind you. Naruto shook his head and said, I'm not uncomfortable sitting, but I think this dress may need to be changed, because Akatsuki's costume is too popular. Konan nodded. It was true, after all, Akatsuki had appeared in the ninja world for a long time, and because of collecting tailed beasts, it was already notorious. So, how do you think we should change it, junior brother? Konan leaned forward and asked. Naruto thought for a moment, looked at the sky in front of him, and then had an idea. Look, we are called the sky, and when we look up at the sky, it is nothing more than blue sky during the day and starry sky at night, right? Although black is very handsome, it is too dark, so I decided to use the blue sky and white clouds as the main color and directly re-dye the clothes on my body. In this way, we have a brand new Tien uniform. This uniform can also represent the meaning of our Tien organization and symbolize a bright future. Nagato murmured. Bright future. Yahiko also said this when he founded Akatsuki. Konan showed a look of nostalgia. Naruto's face was dark. What do you two mean, you want me to die so much? However, Nagato can now miss Yahiko normally, which means it is a good thing. Because under the influence of Koto Amatsukami, his crazy thoughts have been suppressed. Now, following Naruto, he began to slowly find the original intention of chasing light when he followed Yahiko. Naruto planned to discuss with Orochimaru about his ideas about resurrecting some important people after Orochimaru was resurrected. After all, Danzo had so many eyes on his right hand, and Naruto already knew how to transform the Sharingan into the Samsara Eye. Now he just needed a scientist who could put it into practice. After confirming these, Naruto activated Flying Thunder God again, left the territory of the Land of Fire, and jumped to the Land of Iron, where he had made the mark. Because Red Bean was obtained, the next step was to find Jugo, because Sasuke said in his previous life that the source of the power of the curse seal left by Orochimaru came from Jugo, but Orochimaru improved it a little. But it didn't affect it, after all, the source was Jugo. Moreover, Sasuke had personally tested it in his previous life, so Naruto felt that it would not be a big problem to do what Sasuke said. That night, the stars were bright. On the bird's head, Naruto's Sage Mode has been open for perception. Suddenly, Naruto found that the tracing chakra of the mark of Flying Thunder God was attacking again. Naruto opened his eyes and sighed. It's Hinata. Ever since Naruto took Danzo's right eye and right hand and left that day, in the evening, after Hinata didn't wait for him at Ichiraku Ramen restaurant, she went home and madly injected chakra into the mark of Flying Thunder God, wanting Naruto to appear beside her and give her an explanation. However, Naruto never appeared in front of her, because Hinata's appearance really made Naruto unable to face her, and he didn't know what to say to make her believe. The tracing mark of Flying Thunder God became stronger and stronger, which meant that the silly girl was still desperately injecting chakra into the mark. This is not nonsense. Naruto sighed, stood up and said, Senior brother Nagato, senior sister Konan, I'm going to a place, and I'll be back soon. After that, Naruto went directly to Flying Thunder God. Konoha. Naruto landed with Flying Thunder God, looked around, there was no danger, formed a shadow clone, absorbed natural power on the side, and then Naruto came down from the tree. Hinata sat on a dead tree not far ahead. This is where Naruto has been secretly training since he was a child, hidden in a forest in Konoha village. Hinata's attention at this time was all on the Flying Thunder God mark on her arm. She lowered her head and continued to inject chakra. She didn't notice the appearance of Naruto behind her. Naruto walked forward, gently grabbed Hinata's arm, and said distressed,"Ly, enough, Hinata." Hinata was shocked, and her eyes finally began to move. Seeing those feet and familiar shoes, there was finally some change in her eyes. Under the moonlight, 2 tears dripped from the corners of Hinata's eyes. "Why did you lie?" Me. Quote. This sentence was like a heavy hammer that hit Naruto's heart hard, causing him to freeze. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.